But I think the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 6 3 2 9 7.
Media doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, that is KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're taking your calls as we discuss digital psychometry. Yeah, you ever heard of that? Me neither. I made it up. You like that? Except I think we're moving into a world and into a space where these terms, the old ways and the new ways, are coming together, as I always say. And something caught my attention as part of this, part of the idea of psychometry, but not just, let's say, the old way of, when you would pick up an object and be able to sort of, through some sort of divination technique, which is called psychometry, by the way, you were able to discern the past of a particular object, the resonance of human lives around it, maybe even people coveting the object or fighting over the object, or maybe it was just a children's plaything, and maybe even an egregore of sorts in the past. Who really knows, right? But psychometry is one of those weird ones where it's hard to really kind of put a finger on where that stuff comes from. Very Akashic recordy, very, a human resonance kind of sticking into objects, like the haunted doll type of thing that may not be haunted, but let's say in a particular space, but maybe, so coveted that the human resonance sticks to it, and as a result is still latent, still palpable, decades or even centuries later. So, is that real? I don't know. As usual, these ideas for me are, they're not just, let's say, fodder for conversation. These ideas are things that people have suggested are real over the centuries. And, it's one thing to say, maybe, which I do a lot, but it's another thing to be like, nah, come on, this is nonsense and, pseudoscience and hocus pocus. I mean, sure, maybe I could see how the secular materialist would say something like that, but I don't know. Is there some sort of human resonance that kind of sticks into these objects, right? Well, that's the one. That's where we start and where we begin. This idea of, a digital version of this same thing, this digital psychometry, right? That the term that I made up. Well, before we get to that, let's back up. and let's get to exactly, the links are going to be in the description down below, and I encourage you to read these in full, like as I always say, because there's a lot more to it than the things that I talk about and kind of put into these ideas. There's a lot more to it, and that comes from the source material, which I always link below, because inspiration is important, and it's important to give credit to people who do good work and continue inspiring, even if their inspiration isn't as they expect sometimes, which I'm pretty sure this ScienceAlert.com article, the individual that wrote it is named David Nield, Nield. Shout out David Nield for the inspiration. But the deal is this: I'm pretty sure he didn't expect his article and the ideas that he's put forth to inspire this type of conversation. But you notice once you put information out there, it's really strange the way people sort of parse it, the way they take it in, the way it generates new ideas through this inspiration effect. And, well, here we are with a wild conversation. So back to this. Now, ScienceAlert.com. Headline is this: AI detects mysterious detail hidden in famous Raphael masterpiece. Whoa, that's cool, right? I was like, yeah, this is wild. I love this. What is this, right? Okay, but it gets even more weird. Let's read a little bit from the article. So, artificial intelligence can be trained to see details in images that escape the human eye. Now, an AI neural network has identified something unusual about a face in a Raphael painting. It wasn't actually painted by Raphael. Oh, you don't say. The face in question belongs to St. Joseph, seen in the top left of the painting, known as the Madonna della Rosa or Madonna of the Rose. I'll put the photograph up in a moment, or the picture, the actual illustration, the painting, what the hell do you call it back in the day? The non-AI artwork, the old way of doing things. Anyway, so scholars have in fact long debated whether or not the painting is a Raphael original. While it requires diverse evidence to conclude an artwork's provenance, a newer method of analysis based on an AI algorithm has sided with those who think at least some of the strokes were at the hand of another artist. Okay, that's sweet, right? I thought it was pretty cool. Researchers from the UK and US developed a custom analysis algorithm based on the works of that we know are the result of the Italian master's brushwork. That would be Raphael. I got to get my Ninja Turtles correct. Yes, Raphael is the one we're talking about tonight. Okay, so here's the actual photograph in question. Okay, and as you can see, there are, let's go down to where you can see sort of the cherubs, the cherubim here, and of course Mary, which is fantastic, whatever the hell's going on. I'm not, let's say, biblically versed enough to even tell you what's really happening here, but in any case, it doesn't quite matter because we're doing this visually. So I'll explain it since I know this is an audio show. I'll just kind of depict what I see here. So you notice, so Mary and these two cherubim, these babies, okay, are very... let's say fair-faced. And I mean that in sort of the tone, the color. There's not a ton of detail. It's almost as if their faces are washed out in like a poreless feature. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that, you know how they have those people on the soap operas where they have like the lenses where there's no pores on people's faces, kind of like that, right? Very, very bright, very kind of in your face, very, sort of lacking direct and immediate down to the finest brushstroke of detail. It kind of seems washed out a little bit, okay? And I mean that in the nicest way because I'm talking about a master artist here, so everybody relax. This is my silly Michael Strange way of kind of describing this just for the audio listeners. But if you look in the back now, so we got Mary and the two cherubim here, the two babies, whatever these are. Then in the back you have this individual that's darker. I'll get my big head out of the way. That's not just, let's say, darker in, let's say, the colors, of course. It seems like he's back in the shadow. It seems like the shadowing is done better. It seems like there is quite a bit more detail. He's got wrinkles on his forehead. It seems like, again, creases in his face, which these other individuals kind of don't. It does seem like there's something very, very different about the art here we're looking at, okay? Between the sort of three figures in the front and then the figure in the back. Once again, just to frame this properly, because, again, I don't know. So the face in question belongs to St. Joseph in the top left. And, of course, this is with, let's see, Madonna of the Rose. And so, yeah, there we go. So it's supposed to be St. Joseph in the back, but I don't know, right? I think clearly you can look at the two things and go, this doesn't even seem like the same thing, right? It doesn't seem like whoever started this finished this. Or let's say maybe they started it and finished it, 30 years later or something when they had changed as an artist, right? So this is my first thought when I saw this. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But what they did is with the neural networks and the AI and sort of this digital psychometry, I'm calling this, in some sense, they're able to look back into the past, into the brushstrokes themselves down to the microscopic level, and look at this and say, okay, wait a minute now. There's a really weird thing happening here, and it's not exactly as it seems, okay? However, I've got some other ideas, as you know, me being the weirdo that I am. So we'll get to some other ideas. But as we get going on this, keep in mind specifically the idea of a digital psychometry, okay? We're going to get to Dorian Gray tonight. We're going to get to this painting aspect and being able to, with AI, sort of use this digital psychometry and look back into the past to determine, well, I don't know. You tell me what we're about to determine. I have no idea, but I do have some ideas, but I don't have any truth regarding that idea. Real quick, before we go to a quick break and get a word from our sponsor. Yes. So if you're here for truth, there's no truth to be found here. It's just ideas. It's just looking at things a little bit differently and considering that maybe, just maybe, as I always say, drinking the maybe juice is just a bad marketed, branded of a paraphrase by Aristotle, which is, it is the mark of an educated mind to consider a thought without accepting it. Okay, that's the backbone of this show. It always has been. And so everybody relax. There's no truth to be found here. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. We're talking about a master's madness, and you'll see what I mean when I come back. But let's get a word from Jack in Oregon. The Stoic Minute. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset, and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. Okay, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're talking to Master's Madness tonight, and back to this. Very well said. So Smoke Dizzle in the chat, what's up, Jeff and Wisco, says, it's like a real human man looking behind it, lifelike porcelain statues. And that's exactly what this really looks like. That's a fantastic description. It does seem like the figures in the front are more like porcelain statues, kind of that weird haunted doll effect. If you guys recall the old haunted doll porcelain sort of weird faces and stuff, it kind of looks like that. But then the one in the back seems to be almost as if he's, again, possibly even in another realm, right? Sort of beyond the veil, looking into a place where, I don't know, where things are a little more perfect, let's say. Little more porcelain-faced, a little less grizzled, a little less dark and shadowy. I don't know. Like I said, one interpretation among many, of course. But the point of this, and back to the digital psychometry and what this looks like, is it possible then that not just psychometry itself, let me actually define this so that we can talk about this in direct terms. So in parapsychology, psychometry, also known as token object reading or psychoscopy, is a form of extrasensory perception characterized by the claimed ability to glean accurate knowledge of an object's history by making physical contact with that object, okay? Supporters assert that an object may have an energy field that transfers knowledge regarding that object's history. There is no scientific evidence that psychometry exists, and the concept has been widely criticized. Perfect, okay? Which is fine by me because, again, ideas and all the rest of that. But I'm making up a new term. If AI is able to analyze these brushstrokes, can I say it? Brush strokes. Say that 10 times fast. If they're able to, AI is able to analyze this down to the specific brush stroke from centuries ago and determine specifically or not that this particular art was done by a particular artist or otherwise, then suddenly maybe we're looking at the larger concept of this, which I am calling this digital psychometry. And of course, the black box model, which we'll get to momentarily, and how all this fits together, because, well, trust me, it does, at least in the mad scientist mind of troubled minds. Okay, so anyway, so this is where we start. Now, if you look at the painting again, it is very weird, very kind of porcelain doll. It meets the grizzled real person in the back. Okay, so it got me thinking of not just this in digital psychometry in that sense, right? But in the larger game here of, let's say, Well, let's get to the title tonight. The title is called A Master's Madness. Now, what if this was done by Raphael and it was legit both ways, except as I described, maybe Raphael came back to it, I don't know, weeks later, months later, years later, and finished this in a different style because he recognized or realized after the artistic expression came out of him to start, he recognized there was something else that needed to be put in there in a completely different way. Okay. Because clearly he's a master. Again, one of the I don't want to say ascended master, but certainly an artistic genius of the old days of the Renaissance. And so you got to wonder if he knew or maybe came back to a particular space in this and did this in a different way. And look, I get it. You can say, well, it does look like it's two different people. Okay. Which is cool, which is fine. But also, what if he came back in a different state of mind? What if he had seen, what if he went through his, what is it? The Robert, shout out to Robert on Rockfin. I forgot to say him when we started. What if he went through his, 7 years in the wilderness type of thing and came back after staring into the abyss and the abyss stares back, right? Suddenly he's not the same person, the same river twice. Doesn't happen as we're told, shout out rivers. Okay. But here's the thing, right? So this is why I'm calling this a master's madness. Now, specifically, what if he actually did this and then went through something, a harrowing something? Maybe let's just say I'm just throwing things out there. Okay. I'm just throwing things out there. But let's say he got sick. Okay. I don't know, the flu or something, like, which back in the day could have been real bad, not the SARS-CoV-2, but some other like flu from back in the, right. So, something grotesque, but not quite the Black Death. Okay. Right. Okay. So, and then maybe he had a brush with death. Maybe something happened. Maybe he lost a loved one. Maybe, again, who really knows? And this is why I think talking about this in terms of digital psychometry is going to be incredibly important, because how would we know if something in his life happened other than, again, reading his letters and trying to trace his life? And, well, that's a lot of data points. And not only is it sort of metadata of the real world, we're talking metadata of the real world into the past. You get it? So if you can glean from brushstrokes, and even, let's say, they determine that maybe this was actually done by Raphael in full, that possibly, just possibly, he came back later in a different state of mind, or he came back in a state of madness. I don't know. Yeah. I'm only saying that as a hypothetical. I don't mean madness in a bad way. I mean it in the fourth way. Shout out the fourth way if you're out there. Bringing back the term schizo, right? We're taking it back. Bringing back the term troubled mind. In that every time you look at it in a scientific paper, they say troubled mind, they're talking about crazy people. Hey, you don't have to be crazy to have a troubled mind. Just look around you. It's all out there. It's all there for us to see. And that's, as I've always said in the beginning, we're taking back the term troubled mind from the crazies, right? And I don't mean anything bad about people that are struggling with mental health. I take that seriously, but meaning that they use it as a way to, kind of use it as a, I don't know, just a term, like it's almost a pejorative. And it doesn't have to be, is really the point. Anyway, so I digress a little bit there, but you get what I mean. So if we're talking about this, not only this weirdness of psychometry, but a digital version of this, okay, then, and you can glean into the past through, let's say, down to the micrometer or whatever the hell they call these things. However, you're going to be able to take this with these massive cameras, megapixel cameras, down to the brushstroke on these paintings, and even, the imperfections and everything. And then feed this into an AI system to be able to come up with information that we would never see or hear. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that I think the world's about to change in a major way because of things exactly like this. And I've talked about this often with these AI systems, where all the things that we probably don't recognize are suddenly going to become front and center. They're going to become things that we can no longer ignore, because we're going to be able to say, no, look, specifically, it looks like the paint here, down to the micron level or whatever they're counting, right? Down to the megapixel level of 10 million megapixels or whatever the AI system is going to actually parse, is they're able to say, well, maybe the paint's actually 10 years apart. It's still within the lifetime of Raphael, and whatever. I'm just extrapolating, making some stuff up here to kind of give an example. I don't know. I don't know the answer here, but I do know that the same person, the same river, twice doesn't happen, right? We grow, the river moves, which is the river of time. And that's exactly the point here. And so is it possible then that in this particular case, Raphael came back 10 or 12 or 15 years later, or even 6 weeks later, after some harrowing, the abyss stares back sort of situation, and was just seeing the world in a different way. And it painted something in a particularly different style for a very particular reason. And in this case, like I said, when you look at the actual painting itself, it does seem as if the entity back there is in another realm, with, again, in shadow a little bit, with, again, the furrowed brow and the more particular features of the face. There's definitely a stark artistic difference, okay, is really what I'm getting at. And so I don't know. Was it somebody else came by later? Possibly. Of course, because you notice that as you get older, like me, shout out old guys out there, old guys and gals and everybody else in between, is that, well, time seems to move incredibly fast, and I never have enough time to do all the things I want to do. So, of course, it is possible that in this particular instance, he just never finished it. And then somebody came along after he passed and finished it. Right, done, no big deal, right? Well, but then, of course, what does it look like in the longer sense? And can we determine which was which? And I think maybe eventually we'll be able to determine exactly which was which, and even possibly like, the dates these things were done, kind of down to like a very, very fine level. Okay, anyway, so enough rambling on that. Okay, that's where we start. All right, psychometry, digital psychometry, this master's madness, the same person, same river twice, shout out Rivers, all the rest, right? So now the way the black box model comes into this is because these actual portraits, these old portraits, are a little spooky. And many of you have heard me tell the story about, let's say, when I was young, my grandmother had this picture, this portrait, like that's sort of a 3D face portrait of Jesus, right? You guys have heard me tell this story if you've been listening for any amount of time. And by the way, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Regarding stories that I repeat, it's because I'm not lying to you, by the way. I don't make up something where I had something happen because it's great for the narrative. I'm telling you what actually happened. I'm not lying to you, okay? So if you're like, damn, Mike, we've heard this story 5 times. Well, earmuffs for like 30 seconds. But we go into our grandparents', my mother's mother, grandparents' sort of front room, the parlor or living room or whatever you want to call it back then. It wasn't like a museum, so it wasn't quite like that. But they had this picture of Jesus, okay? And it had this sort of 3D face effect where no matter where you were looking at it, in its phase, in its gaze, its eyes would lock eyes with you. And so you'd move, and it felt like Jesus's eyes were following you everywhere. And when you're, 10 years old, if that's not creepy, I don't know what is. So we were always trying to stay out of that room because Jesus was watching. Okay. And I know it's probably some sort of, fantastic metaphor for some larger cosmic aspect of things. But when you're 10, it's just creepy. Okay. So there's the story I repeated. You can unearmuffs now if you've never heard the story or if you've heard it before, whatever. Anyway. So the point of this is in the same sense. All right. These creepy aspects of, let's say, something built into this where something like a portrait of Jesus is supposed to be comforting. It's supposed to be something that makes us feel inspired. It's supposed to be, not something that creeps us out. Okay. Which brought me to the idea of the hell icon, which we talked about recently, probably a couple months back, something to that effect. I can't remember exactly. All the fun stuff blends together in my head, but you get what I'm saying now. Meaning the hell icon, let's talk about this real quick. So a hell icon is this. Are alleged icons with images of the devil hidden under the primer or the painted layer. Okay. So also the image of saints could include horns hidden under the paint. And the term hell written first occurs in prologue, and this is from the Eastern Orthodox Church. Pretty wild stuff. We did a whole show on this, sort of just kind of looking at what this might mean. But what they would do essentially is under the primer, so they would paint like some demonic thing, okay, to send bad juju into the space that it was hung. And then they would put the primer over it, and then they would paint some sort of thing about saints or, something religious, something that's supposed to be good. All right. And so as a result, it was sort of like the obfuscation of bad juju, of dark energy, of, dare we say, black magic. Okay. And you see, in that same sense, now when we start to combine these ideas, it brings us all the way full circle to what the hell was happening here. And of course, with the hell icon, are we going to be able to detect this type of stuff if this thing was something more to that effect? You get what I mean? And I don't know. A lot goes into this, and we'll get to Dorian Gray because if you guys are familiar with that actual idea, it fits very well into this. And so we'll just keep on trucking and talk about that. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts. We are taking your calls tonight if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And I'm calling it, of course, as I said, the what is this called? A master's madness. Now, again, who am I to call Raphael, the master painter, mad? I'm not. I'm suggesting in a hypothetical that maybe, just maybe, he did paint this. And how the hell would we know if he went through some sort of dark night of the soul, right? I don't know. That puts us where we need to be, I think. And love to hear what you guys think about this. Yes, indeed. So that's what's on my mind tonight. This digital psychometry. A Master's Madness, the black box model meets Dorian Gray, which we'll get to momentarily here. But the idea is, well, there's going to be details that are beyond human comprehension, beyond the human lens of discovery, that are going to be discovered in mass in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, which is why I've always said, and I continue to say, in the next 50 years, we're probably going to find something incredibly wild about human consciousness, because we're now scouring the metadata of the past and able to parse it in the future. What's it going to look like? I don't know. Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. No calls yet, so if you want to jump in here, you are first. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds radio network, that is KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're talking about a Master's Madness. Now, there's this painting from Raphael that goes all the way back. It's supposed to be Mary and Joseph and what is it? Not Joseph. What is it? I don't know. I'm a knucklehead. Saint Joseph. There you go. Right. Anyway, if you look at it, it seems as if it was painted by two different artists, okay? And now they're using an AI system to describe this and kind of narrow it down as, yeah, probably not. This is probably not the same person that painted this entire thing, right? But that, I mean, we're talking about a master. Raphael was a master painter, and he couldn't just do things in the cherub, porcelain-faced version of things. He's got a wide variety of art that he's done to become a master, okay? And so he's not going to be stuck in a singular style, of course. That would be absurd to suggest that just because, somebody says so, that he's not able to do different styles. But who knows? Maybe something shocked him. Maybe he came across whatever and left this and then came back weeks or months or even years later and saw something else that should have been there. And it wasn't necessarily the individual he hadn't painted yet. Maybe it was a style. It was a stylistic thing to, again, when I look at this, it does almost seem kind of like there's, a kind of beyond the veil, kind of looking over her shoulder, kind of, in a darker place, a darker space. I don't really know. But it does seem to me that it is very two different, distinct art forms and styles. But it doesn't necessarily, in my mind, mean that he didn't paint it. And I'm just saying that sort of as a hip shot extrapolation of what may be. Okay, so I'll take the experts at what they the experts at what they do, not to undermine experts and all the rest of that. But you know me, I drink in the maybe juice, and so considering what the hell might be coming next here, or peering around the corners, peeking over the horizon, all the rest. All right, so here's the deal, right? So not only that, so this takes us to Dorian Gray. Now, think of this. And if we're talking about this weird things, meaning that if we're painting this stuff, okay, and let's say the Master's Madness, as I'm calling this, right? And in this painting, of course, all artwork we're pouring human energy into in some capacity, right? So this gets weird. This gets even more weird because if you think of it that way, like again, I'm pouring energy into this, and to look up, this is unscripted. I'm kind of have a loose framework in my mind of the things I want to talk about. It's imperfect, but it is, human energy nonetheless. Okay. So there is some sort of human resonance and, resonant fingerprints all over this. And it's not just me, it's you guys. It's a collaboration from the chat and the calls and all the rest of the stuff, right? Weirdness with all of that, but and incredible stuff. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because then the energy that was poured into this was two different stylistic spaces. And if it was the same artist, then, then it's two different energies sort of poured into the same canvas, into the same artwork. Or if it's two different people, even, it's the same thing. The same thing plays. But here's the deal that kind of smells like a rat to me. If you were going to do this as let's say somebody who came later after Raphael had perished, and you put in this sort of darker character with, I don't know, like, and even made it look like it should not belong in the same portrait, the same actual art piece. It seems like it's what allows the artist, right? So who the hell would they allow to do something like this? Anyway, you get what I mean. It seems like there's a lot of madness to this. Okay, but the human resonance that goes into it at some point is still resonating with us today. Look, we're talking about this. They're using AI to determine what the hell's going on with this. And so when you put the resonance in, eventually, even centuries later, that resonance does play itself back to us in some capacity because it is a piece of art. Back to that digital psychometry, right? And being able to even, let's say without touching something, but using sort of your human intuition and, even as a layman, just sort of critiquing art and making you feel a particular way by witnessing these things that happened hundreds or thousands of years ago, there's going to be some sort of reverence to it as just even a layman, which of course art is created for everybody. It's not just created for artists and experts and art critics, because, if art was just created for art critics, then, well, nobody would do art because they just slam everything everybody did, right? But you get what I mean. So the energy that was put into this is at some point resonating back to us. Now, it got me thinking about this particular space, and we'll get back to that resonance kind of kicking back and forth. But it got me thinking about this particular character, which we've talked about in the past, probably not too recently, but Dorian Gray. Now, this is straight from Wikipedia. These links are in the description down below if you want to check it out. I do encourage you to, because there's a lot of wild ideas here. But Dorian Gray is a fictional character and the anti-hero of Oscar Wilde's 1890 novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray. He's an aristocratic Victorian man, and many of you may be familiar with the story. Many of you may not be. Whatever. So I'm going to fill it in. So Dorian is the grandson of the Lord Late Kelso. Dorian's mother, Lady Margaret Devereux, was portrayed as a beautiful aristocrat who married below her class without the consent of her father. Lord Kelso then paid a man to provoke Dorian's father, a junior military officer, into a duel, leading to the death of Dorian's father. The old tricks, right? Dirty tricks. Margaret then returned to Kelso's home, but died soon after. It is revealed that Lord Kelso raised Dorian until Kelso's death, but that the two had a mutual dislike for each other. Okay, the background. All right, now this gets weird because, of course, Dorian Gray is a paranormal character. Dorian Gray is an individual who exchanges energy or draws energy or derives energy or even uses a portrait of himself that is a paranormal space, maybe a portal even, as like a sin eater. If you guys are familiar with that term, they used to pay people to eat other people's sins, right? Well, he used this portrait of himself as exactly this, all right? So here we go. So blah, 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 blah. Okay, anyway, this is very long. I'm not going to read the synopsis to you because it's going to be me rambling on reading this Wikipedia article, which is not why you're here. Long story short, the guy starts doing some horrific things, and he's got this portrait of himself up on the wall. And as a painting, okay? And as he starts doing these horrific things, these sins, his terrible actions start manifesting visibly in the painting, okay? Meaning that he went out and he did some terrible thing and beat somebody or something. So then he comes back and his face in the painting is a little bit, messed up, kind of a little bit more evil, kind of Joker-like, the twisted smile. And as he continues to do these horrific things, he recognizes that there's an energy resonance where he's pouring the sins of himself into the portrait, and the portrait is manifesting those sins by becoming darker and more malevolent each time he commits some sort of horrific act, okay? So it is a back and forth in this sort of energy resonance as part of the concept, right? And the reason I'm bringing that up is because if you look at, again, back to the Raphael thing, and that's just one example, you can go back into history and there's all manner of examples where there's a debate raging today between, scientists and art experts and all the rest. And, again, we're going to have AI enter the picture here very soon and do this on a larger scale. The controversy raging is whether these art pieces are originals in many cases, and not all cases, of course, but in many cases, they're very much like the one we're talking about with Raphael, where we don't know if the artist that began it actually finished it and this type of thing, or how much shenanigans happened, or did they paint over it? Did they restore it? There's all kinds of stuff happening in the art world that talks about this type of thing. But it got me thinking, of course, back to the Dorian Gray bit and sort of this energetic resonance of art that goes into the piece itself. Okay. But then it comes out of the piece in sort of the people experiencing the art. Okay. So there is this sort of circular resonance, even temporal, because this was painted hundreds of years ago. All right. But we're still experiencing this. If you go probably witness this in person, I would guess it's probably going to be quite a bit better than if you see a picture of this thing online. But it's still fantastic art from the days of yore, right? And so it still may give you the little heart tug, whatever, right? Whatever. It might hit you in the feels is kind of my point, right? So I don't know. When you look at this sort of the circular aspect of this, what does it look like? And is it possible that some of this stuff is resonating still in that, I don't know. And maybe we're going to find out exactly what the hell is going on through this digital, what am I calling this? Digital psychometry is the way this is called, because I'm making it up, right? In League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, didn't Dorian get destroyed when his painting was destroyed? I think so. I can't remember. I'm not a big... I've missed details, but maybe, right? Need to rewatch it tonight. Yeah, maybe. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, possibly. And I would think that plays because if it is sort of the sort of sounding board for his sins, his sin eater in that space, then I would think that there needs to be some sort of way to stop him, because I think he's immortal too, right? I think he kind of is able to withstand everything. I don't know. I'm going to have to refresh my Dorian Gray lore here, but I don't know. It's definitely some kind of weird sin-eating, like sort of resonance back into this painting. But again, what if it comes the other way too? And we'll get to the rest of this in a second. So he hides it, at least in the movie. Yeah, okay. But I'm reading the chat. What's up? Hope everybody's doing well tonight. So here we go. So let me catch my breath. We're going to, one more word from our sponsor, which is from our good buddy, Paul. So 1 second, I'm going to get reframe my thoughts here, and we'll come back with some rip-roaring stuff. Love to hear what you think about this, though. 702-957-1037. And click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And so the question tonight is this, and this is the problem, I guess. I didn't ask any questions. Is it possible that pouring energy into a piece of art itself, is putting a human resonant into it that will still speak to us in this sort of psychometry way, or digital psychometry way, that we're using AI to kind of parse the most minuscule detail of this artwork? Is it possible that this energy is still pouring back to us, and that maybe, just maybe, it's not quite as exact, let's say exactly easy to look at this thing and expect that it's just what we see is what we get? Maybe there's a little bit of a darker hint. Maybe there's some of the hell icon buried beneath these pieces. Maybe there's something else that we're missing as part of this larger discussion. And that's the question tonight. Do you think any of this is possible, or do you think it's just nonsense? And that becomes the point. And remember, we start with these ideas are nonsense. Okay, so that's the base of the conversation. And if that's your take, that's cool. It's completely, let's say, less interesting than some maybe juice, but I mean, it's a valid take. So if that's your take, I'd love to hear it. Anyway, so A Master's Madness, the black box model meets Dorian Gray, and of course, well, whatever comes next. So here we go. A quick word from our sponsor. This is from our good buddy, the mighty Rohan, with eternal inspiration from the great beyond. And we'll be right back. Let me catch my breath and get a nice brainstorm set up, and I'll be right back with some more fire and more Dorian Gray and more of this Raphael painting and human resonance and temporal resonance and all the rest. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. Here we go.
If you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, you're not alone. Whether you're in the US, Canada, the UK, or the EU, help is available. Suicide is a permanent solution to temporary problems. Reaching out is a sign of strength. Call now. If you or someone you know is considering suicide, please reach out for help. In the United States, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. In Canada, call the Canada Suicide Prevention Service at 1-833-456-4566. In the United Kingdom, call the Samaritans at 116-123. For services worldwide, go to troubledminds.org/help. Trained counselors are available 24/7 to provide free and confidential support. Remember, your life matters. You are valued, you are important, and you are not alone. There is help available. Please reach out and take the first step towards healing.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're talking A Master's Madness tonight. The black box model meets Dorian Gray. And there's a lot to this. Like I said, it gets kind of deep. So let's start with the top here and just kind of reframe this, because we're a little ways in. Like I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as usual. This is hopefully not just me. This is going to be a conversation. And by the way, the rules still apply. So Derek, thank you for that, Derek. He said he got some headphones and it's going to charge him up. So appreciate that very much. You don't have to be buying things on my behalf. Turn them return them at the end of the day or tomorrow, whatever. A pro tip from a guy who used to work retail: just buy it and then use it and then return it and be like, nah, it wasn't what I wanted. anyway, there's your dirty tricks from a retail manager. All right, so which I saw all the time, by the way. So the deal is this, right? We're looking at this art piece, and it's these hundreds of years old artworks, okay? And so we're wondering if they're created by the same individual, or even the same individual, let's say in the same mind frame. And you guys said it earlier, funny enough, Matzel said, well, what if he started it and, did it in the first half sober, and then the next half he did it not sober? Maybe that would be a different state of mind, right? Exactly the point is sort of, as the human experience progresses or changes, or who knows, again, what people are going through, there's certainly, things take a dark turn sometimes, especially in how art manifests as part of this larger conversation, right? So straight from the top, and this is kind of a reframing everything in the same place now that I've rambled on about it, but listen to this. And so the question becomes, do you believe psychometry is real? Meaning that you could touch something and derive some sort of human resonance from it and be able to actually collect energy or, let's say, historical aspects or whatever from it. Okay, that's psychometry in and of itself. Now, what about the next layer of this? Digital psychometry is what I'm calling this, and able to use the AI to parse this down to the brushstroke level or the micron level or whatever they're measuring in these terms, and be able to say that maybe, just maybe, we're going to be able to do a digital version of this psychometry by examining these brushstrokes and the rest of this. So here we go. Straight from the top here. Appreciate the calls if you guys got them. 702-957-1037. But hey, I'll be here all night. Have you ever looked at a familiar piece of art and felt a shiver run down your spine? Perhaps a detail seems slightly off, a face contorted in a way you don't remember, or a symbol that whispers of something unseen. What if the unsettling feeling wasn't just a trick of the light or a figment of your imagination, but a hidden message waiting to be decoded, which we'll get to in a moment here? This is the strange new frontier that artificial intelligence analysis is opening up. For centuries, we've admired masterpieces, pondered historical documents, and marveled at ancient artifacts. But what if these objects hold secrets invisible to the naked eye? With the ever-increasing power of AI, these whispers from the past are becoming audible. Oh, yeah. Take, for instance, as the recent news of an AI detecting a mysterious detail in the famous Raphael painting, which we've been talking about. This discovery, along with others like AI autonomously identifying a supernova, which is in here as well as part of that larger discussion, which, real quick, back to Science Alert here. So this. World first, new AI system discovers supernova without human help. So it's parsing the sky. It's able to kind of look at these things and determine what's what, and it's doing it without us saying it's been taught, or it's teaching itself in that sort of continual process. But it's able to be like, yep, definitely, here you go. We found one. Check it out. And the humans checked, and sure enough, this AI system is suddenly going to be scanning the stars, all of the stars. Like they're going to be able to sort of use these systems that even have their own agency at some point to find particular anomalous things in the sky that we never recognized, okay? Which is part of it. I'm glad I went back to the write-up here because this is a critical detail that I missed. And so in the same sense, if we have these AI systems doing their thing, they might very well be kind of picking apart the human resonance that are left in not just artworks and art pieces, the things I've been describing, maybe musical notes, maybe hidden codes, sort of the synchronicities from the past that were put there specifically and even intentionally for us to find centuries later as maybe a cosmic troll, as maybe something else entirely. I don't know. Just again, ideas and just flowing through this. And yeah, so there we go. So that's where that idea came from, that the new AI system discovers supernova without human help. So let's see, where were we? Right about there. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So it hints at a future where AI can analyze the real world around us in ways we never thought possible, which is the whole point tonight. Imagine a world where every building, every brushstroke, every wrinkle on an old photograph could be a treasure trove of data waiting to be unlocked. What secrets might AI unveil from the past reserves of human history and culture? And could it rewrite our understanding of the past, revealing hidden connections and forgotten truths? And perhaps more importantly, what does this all mean for the future? As AI analysis, if I can say it, of real-world data becomes commonplace, will we unlock new doors of perception or open a Pandora's box of unsettling revelations. And that right there, my friends, is exactly the entire point of tonight, because I think there's a lot here. There's a lot to consider when we start to really look at what's happening around us in terms of artistic resonance and how it sort of reflects back. And then you layer the hell icons as part of this, and maybe even people obfuscating ideas hidden behind black magic, okay? Or vice versa, right? Black magic hidden behind ideas that we're supposed to accept as, well, good ideas, happy ideas, smart ideas, knowledgeable ideas. No, not in this sense. Maybe not. So I don't really know. The answer is fleeting, but I think when you start to look at this and consider what world we're moving into, the world's going to change incredibly quickly, and that's exactly what's up. Dark art, if you will, dark and light meme warfare. Yeah, it seems like it. OG Skywatch, how you doing? Yeah, The Ninth Gate was also amazing in an art sense. Yeah, that movie, right, The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp, pretty good stuff. It's on Tubi still, I think. I watched it a couple months back again. Pretty good stuff. Wild, definitely wild. But I don't know. So that gets us where we need to be in terms of sort of reframing this. But what do you guys know about it? So the question becomes now, not just with the resonance of, let's say, psychometry or digital psychometry in this black box model in Dorian Gray, the psychometry kind of coming back to us might be not as we expect it to be, okay? Meaning maybe there's these hidden signatures, as just described in the write-up there. So could artists throughout history have concealed messages, codes, or even technological blueprints within their work? Very ancient aliens and ancient astronaut theorists always say yes, because why not, right? Yeah, no sweat, man. If you want to wait, we can go to the top of the hour and take a break, and it's all good, brother. It's all good. I appreciate you always backing me up. So that's the question, right? So is it possible that these things could be put into place, all right? And really sort of codes hidden in these ancient master works of art. And, some people suggest that's the case anyway, kind of, looking at things through a different lens, different analysis and different spaces and parts. And you've seen this with the Mona Lisa and some of these other interesting art pieces where you're like, okay, so what is she really smiling at? I mean, like that never bothered me because, I smile at weird things sometimes too, but who knows, right? And that becomes sort of the weird basis of this when you start to look at maybe what's in the background. Maybe that type of stuff wasn't accidental. Maybe it looks familiar because it is familiar. Back to that Diana Pasulka in the X-Files, the place she was at that she saw in an X-Files episode, right? If you guys remember that old story. But look, I don't know. It does seem to me that there's something here, and I think something that we can unlock in the largest sense when we start to figure this stuff out. And I think figuring this stuff out is coming, okay? And so the question becomes to you, is it possible then that there are sort of hidden messages all around us all the time, which would be very not, let's say, obvious Illuminati type stuff where, you get they got the Black Eye Club and making the Illuminati symbol and all the stuff that you always see in the conspiracy realms, right? The conspiracy spaces where they're talking about these things. But what if it's way beyond that? What if some of these secret societies and even the master artists of the past were using this stuff as, well, hell icon-ish sort of energy resonance, and it was put in there for, dare you say, nefarious purposes? And I don't know. As usual, just some ideas, kind of throwing it out there. Let's see another one here that we can talk about as we go. So the hellish anomaly part of this, and the hell icon, which we talked about months back, like I said. So could a work of art contain a hidden icon or symbol that acts as a conduit, which I just said a little bit, to malevolent forces, infusing the artwork with spiritual contamination? And I almost called the show tonight, some version of spiritual contamination, because that idea to me is fascinating as hell. Because whether you're religious or not, that mindset to me, it feels like the erosion of of spirituality in and of itself, whether it's, locked into a dogma or outside of it, is definitely prevalent. And it's something that, let's say the New World Order, that space, that, abstract concept is definitely putting the war to, okay? The idea of spirituality, the idea that we have faith in something outside of ourselves. And look, it doesn't have to be dogmatic at all, but faith in the universe, faith in the cosmos, let's say, that there's a synchronicity aspect of us here for a particular reason, right? As we've said in the past, quite a lot. There's two types of people. Back to science, because M. Night Shyamalan, remember the movie with the aliens? It wasn't about aliens at all. It was about faith. It was about the idea that either you're the type of person that believes things happen randomly, or you're the type of person that believes things happen for a reason. And so that fits all the way back into all of this. And then you got to wonder what the hell's really happening. I don't know. No answers, just, but the idea of spiritual contamination has kind of been sitting with me. And I did bring it up a little bit when we had the show with the Fourth Way. Shout out the Fourth Way if you're out there. And, we talked about it a little bit, spiritual contamination. And I think this is the battle we're dealing with in the modern day. And I'm not saying dogma. I think spirituality can exist outside of dogma. It's sort of a way to honor the human aspect. It's sort of a way to honor what it means to be human together with an uncertain end. It's a way to honor the human aspect through ancient art that may or may not have hill icons embedded within. You get it? You get how wild and weird this gets? Because I think it does get wild and weird. And that puts us about where we need to be. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up. Appreciate it very much for popping in here and saving my ass. And love to hear your guys' thoughts as well. Do you think there's something to this? And what do we expect to find in the next, I don't know, let's say 2, 5, 10, 15 years regarding AI and sort of this metadata analysis of the past? Okay, metadata in the modern sense means, Facebook and that type of stuff. But metadata analysis of the past means we're going to the most granular level we can find technologically and driving or deriving, well, something out of it. And do you think it's going to be spooky, creepy, anything in between? I don't know. I have a feeling we're going to be surprised by some of the things that come out of this idea, this style of, digital, what's it called? Psychometry. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of ideas to kind of consider here and kick around and talk about, but no answers for me, just more ideas, more questions. And so, of course, as you know, no truth to be found here. But what do you know about this? Is it possible that he masters madness? Raphael painting this was actually himself, just a shadow archetype coming back and seeing that, well, St. Joseph needed to be just a little bit different because he was watching from beyond the veil. I don't know. Love to hear what you think. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up and your calls as well. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That is KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're taking your calls as we talk about A Master's Madness. This painting by Raphael seems to have been, well, maybe not painted entirely by him, okay? And it's been let's say, the basis of argument for many years now, except they've now scanned this with AI down to the micron level or something to that effect. I don't know the exact measurement here. To the iota level. There you go. 1 iota level. And it actually seems like this was not completely painted in its entirety by Raphael. Now, of course, Raphael is one of the master artists of the past, of the Renaissance. And, he's featured in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for crying out loud. He's one of the masters for that reason, okay? I mean, not for that reason, but he's honored in modern times for exactly that. He's a master, okay? And so to tell me that he couldn't have done this is, I think it's absurd, number one. But number two is that how do you really know? I think there needs to be sort of meta-analysis on the paint and, was it from the same era? Look, if you can say like, okay, this paint wasn't used in his time. From everything we know, the paint on this particular figure, that doesn't seem to fit with the image that was, previous in the foreground, and they're like, yeah, they didn't use this paint for like another 200 years. Okay. All right, cool. That's something, right? But I don't know. Certainly a master could decide, maybe leave something by the wayside for a moment, go through that dark night of the soul as described in sort of the alchemical tradition, and then come back and see his own artwork in a darker way. And of course, finish it in a darker style. Okay. So that doesn't seem to be, unbelievably seamless or impossibly seamless. Okay. But who knows? Who knows what the hell's going on? And this is why this is an important concept, because AI is going to be kind of pulling these things out of the ether And we're going to have a new reality to talk about in a bunch of different ways. So I don't know. What do you think? Is it possible that we have this version of digital psychometry happening? And how crazy is it going to get in the next coming days, weeks, months, and years? Because I think it's closer than you believe. Well, like I said, if you're paying any attention to the AI space, which is outpacing Moore's Law by quite a bit, maybe you won't be surprised when something changes overnight. It's incredible. And you slept on it. Well, you're here listening to us, so certainly you aren't sleeping on it. Love to hear your thoughts on this, and not just that, the hell icon stuff, the hiding, let's say, imagery, or let's say even through sacred geometry, or clandestine images, or well, that's not the word. Anyway, whatever. Is it possible to embed these ideas into paintings that are supposed to be figured out thousands of years later when the AI analysis machine comes around, sort of a cosmic code of sorts? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Thanks, my man, for jumping through the hoops and doing the thing. The Night Stalker, what's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Go right ahead.
Testing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great, loud and clear.
All right, beautiful. So I had my boss test my headphones. I called him up, and I can hear through them, but I can't you can't hear me through them. And then we used to sell headphones at the store, but they moved them around or whatever. They're some kind of kiosk area. I ended up finding some, just bought them real quick without looking, and they don't have the iPhone hookup for them. So just burned $10. And then I realized that I have wireless ones in my bag. That's from 2 years ago. I'm just afraid to hurt my brain with microwaves and stuff. So I just haven't used them. So I just charged them for a quick 10, and hopefully they work and everything.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, so retail style, return that crap, bro. It wasn't what you wanted. Return it. Return it, man. Return it.
Wise words, brother.
Yeah. Don't take the shot on that. I used to do that, by the way, when I was young. I'd be like, I bought it. I didn't need it. So I'd throw it in the closet and it'd sit there forever. And I should have just returned the damn thing. Anyway, back to you. Thanks for jumping through the hoops to be here. So what do you think about this? A little bit of weird, kind of the long way around, but I think there's a lot at play here with the hell icons and sort of the old ways of maybe putting messages for the future. I don't know, like with art, let's say we're doing art here for sure in a different medium, but are we embedding messages for the future? I'm not so sure I'm smart enough for that personally. I'm certain you are, but you know what I mean? No. I think it's probably harder to do than it seems like, but we are talking about the masters of, human artistry. So maybe it's not like I think. I mean, Da Vinci was into some wild stuff anyway. So what are your thoughts? Go right ahead.
There's a lot here. I knew my headphones weren't going to work when I was driving to work. So I was like, whatever, I can at least listen. Not a big deal. I can try to withstand the urge to call in. Then you were just getting into it, and I don't know why nobody's calling. It's my mind's kind of racing. It's a good one, brother.
Thank you.
But so first, I didn't look at the Raphael painting or anything, but you were talking about the kind of porcelain doll aspect of it. But real quick, it just reminded me of maybe the person in it was like a doll. Maybe they were trapped in some kind of porcelain doll thing. It reminded me of this American Horror Story thing where this person was dollifying people, stealing, kidnapping people and turning them into real dolls or whatever. But mainly maybe the first thought was Raphael's a tracer. He's a tracer in the comic world. If you're an artist, a tracer is the worst thing you can be and stuff.
Paid by numbers or something.
Yeah, just a tracer. If you get caught tracing, you're in trouble. Even though a lot of them do it. Like Neil Adams, one of the best Batman artists ever, R.I.P. He was a tracer. He says I don't start anything without having some kind of Batman template underneath the thing, and then I go from there. And when I first got into comics, I went to one of my first shops, and there's people talking whatever, and I'd already been listening to comic podcasts a year before I ever went in there. And then they were just kind of shooting the shit. It was a bunch of 50 plus people. And I'm like, yeah, Neil Adams is a tracer, and they all looked at me I just I said Jesus didn't exist or something like that. It was the most blasphemous thing. And then I went back and I listened to it. And he definitely does. But it's this dirty little secret. So maybe it's this kind of Kanye Drake ghostwriting type thing, but with art kind of. Especially when you get to these kind of name brand artists, the ones that kind of survive the test of time. That for all we know might not even the whole Shakespeare idea. Could AI figure out if Francis Bacon actually did write Shakespeare? Did he actually exist, or he just a title and there's a bunch of different writers that wrote under the Shakespeare name, or whatever the Shakespeare mystery is, that maybe something like that happening. Right now there's a bit in the rap world. I think it's all kind of fake. They're trying to revive hip hop, but there's a big Drake verse. Everybody, Drake verse, J. Cole and Kanye and Kendrick Lamar and all these like first 20 people, like the best 20 people besides Drake, verse Drake, and he's just like crushing them somehow. I really don't understand how. But the one thing they have on him is that he's been caught ghostwriting a lot of times. People find like reference tracks for him and stuff. But with kind of the rap game, where's the line between somebody writing your verse for you, which in a art form that's all about writing your own bars, it's a real bad thing, versus like being in the studio, hanging out, smoking, drinking for hours with people, girls around and everything, and just some of your friends being like, hey, say this. Hey, like this will sound cool. Like throw this word in, throw this line in. Oh man, I'm looking for a line. Like what would sound good? Oh, try this. Like, is that ghostwriting? And that's kind of like more so what he did. Like what he does. He collaborates with artists like the same way, same way like Lionel Richie would or Motown would or whoever. Like just back in the day. So like that's in the zeitgeist heavy right now. So in the future, could an AI then decipher? All right, this is analyze all the Drake songs ever made, all the Drake writing credits ever made. All right, this is the original Drake verse. This line is not from Drake. Oh, we recognize this. This is like one of his friends that we know. Oh, this is like a Kanye thing or whatever. Would that be, especially like with the Raphael type, like a Kanye too? I don't know. It's weird. So once you get to a certain level where you're like a Jay-Z, a Kanye, like a kind of like an icon, it doesn't really matter. So everybody knows Kanye doesn't really write most of his verses. He brings people into Wyoming in his studio, kind of locks them in there for a couple of days, and then just like picks their brains and like takes pieces of beats, takes pieces of other people's raps, and like it's part of it. And you give Kanye some good stuff, he'll co-sign you or whatever, and it's just part of the game. Can AI figure that out? And is this the same thing? If you're a Raphael, if you're even like a Mozart in music, are you a name that just sells so much? You're just a name brand, but then you can have smaller, lesser people come in, write a sonnet here, paint a portrait here, and then just put your Raphael name on it, put the Beethoven name on it. And then they could have been doing that the same, like they do that right now. They did that in pop music, throughout pop music. You have teams of people writing these things. Are the AIs then going to figure out who wrote what? You know what I mean? And this is just the equivalent. I took way too long to explain. I got way better stuff. What do you think about that?
No, that's okay. Yeah. Well, that's exactly the point here. And so what kind of stuff resonates? And so here's the thing too, regarding art. And I know art is very subjective. And, look, when I was a young man, I was in college and, went to the humanities and this stuff. And, they're like kind of peeling you out of your stupid high school mindset and being like, oh, let's listen to some opera, right? Let's look at these old paintings by Raphael. And you're like, oh God, this is horrific, right? You're like, oh, but
lame.
Yeah, exactly. Lame, super lame. Right. But of course, like it's sort of without context of like a historical context that, they're the reason why we're here doing these things. And so me pointing this out it does have a point, and meaning that it is subjective. It's incredibly subjective. Even if you can like, the modern art stuff, you look at it and go, lame, right? To glue the tennis ball to a wall, that's incredibly lame. Yeah, and it's also like it's a tax dodge, but it's incredibly lame. But kind of being like, the masters of old, lame, is a little bit different, right? And so it's resonant. It's resonant throughout history that these people are the masters, not just recognized in their time, even some of them posthumously. That's now we recognize sort of, they didn't get their fair due when they were alive. But still, it's basically not based on what the art, let's say, objective quality is, because there are, more detailed specific artists. There are more, let's say, direct, like hi-fi or lo-fi type artists that may be better than, the big names of today. But there's something with the resonance of their art that, sort of slaps back from the zeitgeist itself. It's like a call and an answer in the same space, right? And so what I mean is that even if you have an artistic space and it seems masterful, it still doesn't resonate, right? It doesn't catch, whatever that means. And so that like sort of that magical of the catch in the zeitgeist clapback is, well, whether you like the art or not, it's hard to deny that Taylor Swift is the artist of the century, and so just because of the sheer level of interest in the things she's doing by this massive group of people worldwide. So I'm just saying, like, Just saying subjectively, you can crap on whatever you want to, but I think the zeitgeist decides some way or other, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And then do we get to a point where the AI can kind of like break that down to code or break that down to a formula, the way kind of like not all kind of corporate cookie cutter artists catch like that, but Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were created by the same guy, like like Lou Pearlman or something like that, a month apart. So he just like, oh, I did it once. This is gonna work. Let me just do it exactly the same, and let me get the one who kind of sounds like Michael Jackson. Let me get like one that's kind of older. Let me get the kind of badass one. Let me get the like classically good looking one or whatever. And then he just kept doing it. He kept like a few of them caught, a few of them didn't. So I wonder if that's a formula he had. So I wonder if like an AI can eventually comb all of human art throughout history, see what thing caught the zeitgeist, and then figure out like how to catch the zeitgeist, and then like what will it create once it really knows what we like, to a point where we don't like, we can't predict what's going to catch the zeitgeist, but what if it can?
Yeah, and that becomes like a temporal thing because you have to know what's about to come next because you have to create it for the moment that zeitgeist picks it up and slaps back, right? So it has to be ready and done for the moment. So that's the weird magic of that and sort of that retro causal effect of what this looks like. It's incredibly lucky, of course, because there are more talented people, as I've said, than the ones that are the toppest in the world at any given point in history. But it doesn't quite matter, does it? I mean, I don't mean it doesn't matter that you shouldn't try. I mean, it doesn't matter that, that you're a better artist or better singer, a better writer, a better whatever than whoever's, the top because, well, they got there somehow, didn't they? And hopefully it's not, selling your soul to the devil with the Illuminati or whatever. But anyway, I digress. Exactly. The old Moloch in the forest with those clowns. But anyway, I digress. We don't have to talk about that. But anyway.
I'm gonna touch back on the ghostwriter thing in a second, because that gets into maybe do stuff too. But first, like you mentioned, the kind of hiding stuff within the pictures, like codes or just hiding things that the initiated have to know. Like that's what esoteric is versus exoteric. You have to know what to look for in order to find it. So I mean, it seems like they did that a lot. Like that's the whole concept of the Da Vinci Code and all that type of stuff. Is that like the Last Supper? It's look, he's putting a chalice in it, or all that kind of stuff. Everything has a second meaning. There's a chance that's happening. It reminds me of two things, like in Iron Man 2, I think. Tony Stark is like trying to figure out how to make like a new element because he's like the one he used to keep himself alive is not working for him. He needs to figure out something new, create some kind of new substance or whatever, new elements, whatever, new type of atom. And he's racking his brain, and then he like is looking at this diagram of the World's Fair, like a Disney World that his dad had made, it's like a town basically. And he's looking at it, and he takes like, Jarvis, take out the trees, take out the benches, take out the water fountains, and this and this. Now what do I have left? And he's looking at it, and it's like it is the elements that he was trying to like synthesize or whatever. And then his dad's like, he found a video of his dad. So I'm trapped by the limits of the technology of my time, but I know you'll be able to figure this out, and I know you'll have the technology to get it done. So here it is, hidden in the diagram of a town, So what if that's kind of happening with the art? Like there's a comic, Prodigy, that came out like in 2018 by Mark Miller. It was supposed to be a show. I don't know if it's coming still. But basically, like, it's the smartest man in the world, and he's like kind of like a secret agent or like a modern day Indiana Jones type person. And it goes into this, like, he's trying to analyze some lost messages and stuff. And long story short, he figures out that the painting of the Tower of Babel is like diagrams to a wormhole to let in like Nimrod from like another dimension. He wants to like come back in, like kind of like Anunnaki type thing, but they want from another dimension. They want to get let back in. But the technology wasn't there at the time. Like something happened where some alien or something like that got sent through a wormhole by accident, ended up in ancient history, couldn't rebuild the Stargate again because we're in ancient history. So he like coded it in the art of the Tower of Babel and throughout history. And then there's like a picture in the comic comparing the Tower of Babel painting with the diagram of CERN, and it's like it's the same thing, and CERN's going to open the wormhole and that kind of thing. These things are hidden for the enlightened people down the line. So potentially AI can maybe stumble on that, or like something can come through, like maybe they don't know that the AI is going to be the technology that they need, but that's just that's the moment. That's how we. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, and I don't know. There is once again there is sort of that temporal aspect to all of this, not just that zeitgeist clapback, but sort of this psychometry, the digital style that I'm talking about, and kind of being able to look into the past and sort of derive metadata for the future. We're sort of doing these cycles, which seem again even dare you say perfectly contrived. I mean, maybe not, right? Maybe not, of course, but the troubled mind. You can close your mind for a moment. You think in a few different ways and go, wait a minute now. It almost kind of seems like this type of stuff has been planned and real forever. I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's kind of like one of the ideas for how kind of AI time travel or like time travel type experiences can be had through the AI crunching the data and everything, and that in the future we'll be able to go back. Like we're just recording everything, and then AI just like putting so much data. Everything has our phones out, and our phones recording everything into a point. We're probably gonna strapping cameras to us like permanently pretty soon, or camera eyeballs, or who knows what. But it's constantly recording, and that. So in 1,000 years from now, I want to go back to 2045, and then the AI kind of takes all that data, and then it creates an experience for you, and then you can go back to 2020, where like we have a lot of selfies, a lot of footage and stuff. It's still pretty clear, but if you want to go back to like 1980. You have to go just to news footage and movies and people's Kodak pictures that they put on the internet, and the quality of that when you go back to the 1980s or 1950s or the 1800s, where there's very little photographs and stuff. It starts becoming like maybe a grainier. That's kind of the graininess of the future, is that we can tell there's much more AI filling in the gaps because the information isn't provided. But as it gets more complex, it can take all the like meta decisions and moments that were done right now in this year, and then just extrapolate, but they'll become like less accurate. So like throughout the time, I don't know. That's just maybe I can think of that. But for the ghostwriting thing, like just like especially if these people were like, I don't know which artists were famous and which artists weren't, but if some of them were celebrities, so I think a lot of times it kind of did work like that, where these kind of celebrity names would, in order to garner more money for their product, would like use, especially in a time period with like apprentice and master relationships all the time, that like that's just part of paying your dues is it's collaborating with the master. But I wonder if it can get even weirder than that, and like to like literal ghostwriting to an extent, where it's like where do ideas come from, or the muses took over when I was creating this piece, or I don't know what happened, it just poured out of me, that type of thing. If the AI is uncovering that, it's like, all right, this is Raphael working, and then this is when the muses took over. This is when that entity took over, and he started painting, like started flowing through the people that it can like. The AI will be able to detect the muses almost, Yeah. This is when the muse,
or when they started channeling something. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm calling this. Yeah, why I'm calling it the master's madness, because what does that even mean? Like and that was the point of the troubled minds diatribe a little bit earlier, when I was like, okay, but before us doing this, troubled minds meant mentally disturbed or ill people. Okay, well, not anymore. We're kind of taking the term back, but madness, in the same sense, is exactly as you're describing. So what does it mean? It could mean a psychosis, but it also could mean some sort of enlightenment in some sense. And, being able to kind of detect when the divine inspiration kicked in, whatever that looks like. And I think you're spot on here and onto something.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be like multiple personalities type of thing, where that could be, it depends. I mean, I don't know if when muses take over, when something takes over, or when the inspiration takes over, and across the board, like anything, like these great works of art, there's a lot of stories, but I don't know where it came from. I just started putting pen to paper, and it just came out of me, or I just like that's ubiquitous across the board. So some cases, these artists will have like alter egos, like Beyonce and like Sasha Fierce, for instance, and it's different. That's more her like stage persona, or something like that, where will the AI detect like multiple personalities in an artist, that maybe like a time period where multiple personalities was not even a diagnosable thing. And then when it gets into like the Moon Knight type stuff, are some of those personalities like not human? Are they like Khonshu, the moon god? Like this is a person with multiple personalities, and because his like mind is cracked like that. That crack allows for other things to come in. So one of those personalities he has, it's not of his creation. It's an external thing that got in, and will the AI be able to detect that? And is that what channeling is in the first? I mean, yeah, I mean, like alien channeling stuff. That's definitely what it is. But like automatic writing and that type of thing, will the AI be able to figure out? Okay, this is when the author just knew that he had to get to work, so started getting to work, a couple paragraphs, and this is where the thing really
crap, I'm out of time.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the thing. This is when the inspiration, like the capital M muses, or when this like, let's just like call the entity Joe or something like that, like came in and took over the pen for him, and like gave him more ideas. And I wonder if it would be the same entity over time, you know? Like, I wonder where their ideas come from. What if it's like a non-physical entity that's like trapped outside of time, or not within linear time, or immortal, or whatever the case may be, and just keeps hopping into artists, or keeps inspiring artists throughout the ages? Like, will the AI figure out kind of a calling card of particular muses that hop in? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a performance of Pearl Jam singing "Alive" on BBC. It like always pops up on my Facebook and stuff. I watch it all the time. It's really good. And it's like, when I describe my musical taste, the way I describe it like doesn't make a lot of sense to people. It's like when the artist had the muses, like it's like I said before. At some point, like Robert Plant lost it. Like, I still appreciate his music in the '80s and everything, when he started going like Moroccan and all that kind of stuff. I think it's cool, but he like, there was something else coming through him when he was performing in Madison Square Garden. It was Robert Plant plus. Like when Janis Joplin's performing, it was Janis Joplin plus for a time or whatever. And then like, could they identify that? And in this performance on Alive, it's Pearl Jam plus to me. It's not the same as like when like Pearl Jam does a theme song for like the Bill Simmons podcast or whatever that I listen to, just a sports podcast. There's modern Pearl Jam doesn't hit the same way that like they did in '93, '95.
Yeah,
you know,
they were in that pocket. They were in the zeitgeist pocket in that moment. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. And could that be when they had the muses? It was a perfect blend of hard work. They put themselves, they like worked and practiced and got themselves in a situation which got the muses attention, and they were like, that's what it takes to get the muses. And then the classic rock stories, like, or the classic story of any type of oracle or person touched by the gods, is then a few years later you get chewed up and spit out, or rock star lifestyle, or whatever. And like in the Pearl Jam song, when this is like, when he's singing, it's like, I just took the chorus down. Or it's like, sorry you didn't see him, but I'm glad we talked. Like, oh, I'm still alive. Hey, I'm still alive. It sounds, and I thought this like 2 years ago. Hey, like, it sounds like there's an entity that's coming through Pearl Jam at that moment, saying, I'm still here. This is me, or whatever.
Yeah, don't forget us. Like, we're still watching over you, and we're giving you the message through Eddie Vedder, who needs to tell you in this moment that everybody's going to hear it, that we're still alive. I love it.
So call that entity. So what if the AI can identify that? Call the one that came through Eddie Vedder during Alive, like, we call it Tony. And he goes, all right, that's the Tony, like, penmanship. And then he's able to, Tony came through like Buddy Holly. And then Tony came through somebody in the 1800s. And Tony came through somebody in the 1700s. Tony came through somebody in the 1600s. And the AI is able to track the course of the muses, and able to the entire oeuvre of non-physical entities. You know what I mean? And like, we'll be able to like decipher patterns of I don't know. That's like a type of like non-physical mapping. It's like I don't know. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like tracking the inspiration. Like we'll be able to find where inspiration came from, but in particular, and name it and label it. You know what I mean?
And predict it. Yeah, predict it. Yeah, and even channel it into particular spaces or times or individuals, and that becomes a weird part. It is sort of a larger superpower in some cases, right? Like if you could always have the muses, then you would always be sort of locked into the zeitgeist in one way or another, because people are expecting what you're about to say, and then you say it at the right time, and then boom, And that's and nobody's been able to do it forever. I mean, even, Raphael and the masters of old, what Donatello, Michelangelo, of course, Leonardo, right? Back to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like even they,
Jones.
yeah, exactly. There we go. Right, let's bring it a little bit more modern than that. But even they haven't been able to sort of tap into sort of a universal zeitgeist. I do wonder if there's such a thing. And I think if you can predict sort of temporally what we expect as a society, I think maybe it becomes possible. I mean, probable, I don't know, but possible for sure. I mean, we're drinking the maybe juice, but maybe totally.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, that's it seems to be what like the making contact aspect seems to be like important to these people, and it seems to a lot of these successful artists seem to do a lot of weird stuff and like weird ritualistic things. Like, why are they doing that? I wonder why they're doing that. It's because they want to get the muses or something, and like they want, like, I don't know, it reminds me of Sandman, where when in the beginning where he's trapping Sandman in the glass case or whatever, or at the end when they're trying to like steal a literal muse, try to take a literal muse for yourself. So this could be a way to like find I don't know, like detect the code. So it's the same way if you like do X circle triangle, like right button left bumper, like up down, then you'll unlock something in a game. Maybe if you like say a certain couple phrases and drink this and whatever, then you'll like unlock the certain muse will come through you or whatever,
Yeah, up, down, left, right, BA. Select start.
Yeah,
for you old timers. Yeah. And I think maybe that's exactly the point. Sort of, maybe that's resonating from the old ways. Maybe they knew some of this stuff, and we're again about to rediscover. Look, I say this a lot, but I do think that there's a lot of old wisdom that needs to reemerge, and I do think that AI is going to sort of be able to pluck the wisdom out of the noise and be like, hey, look, guys, you knuckleheaded humans missed the forest for the trees, because look at this. This has been here all along, and this is what you always should have known. And well, you almost get what you deserve because you're focused on this instead of that. It makes a ton of sense to me.
Literally, is there somebody behind me? Sorry, I'm gonna wrap it up a second.
Yeah, we got David on the road, and we got Jorge. But yeah, you're good. Go ahead and finish up. And I got to play I got your song queued up to play too as you bounce. If you want to stay in for the extra few seconds here. I didn't add it to the board. I'll add it soon. But I got your yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah, it's a great song.
The forest through the trees thing. I mean, that's literally the Tony Stark example. Like that's the message. So the way he had this diagram of an amusement park or something like that, and he took out the trees, took out the benches, and just was left with like the bones of an element. And maybe that's going on with art in general. Like that could be a mechanism that we just haven't really figured out yet. And not only like will we figure out how to tap into it on will, like or at will, it could be that we figure out a message that was communicated to us by some, like, it's if we just take all of art and put it up in front of us on a display board, the same way Tony Stark put up that diagram. We start pulling trees away, and that's like pull away, like remove the artist, and we'll start to see the signatures of these non-human entities, the muses or the inspiration givers or whoever throughout time, and start to see a pattern. Like it reminded me of that when we were talking about dreams and mapping the dreams and everything, how. And with the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight, when Batman has he turns everybody's phones into like little individual sonars. So, and then he's like in a room with like 100 different screens, and because everyone has a little sonar phone, he has a map of the entire city, whatever. So if that's kind of the dream realm, and say you have a 1,000 different little screens showing everybody's dreams, imagine just one screen where you're seeing one single dream play out. And it's an adventure, some kind of just running through somewhere, and all of a sudden it's just a yellow brick in the middle of just flash up. Just a yellow panel flash up in the middle of a person's dream. And within that one dream, it's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. But then if you have 1,000 screens of 1,000 people's dreams, and at the same moment, a yellow block popped up over here, a yellow block popped up down there, a purple block popped up, a red block popped up, and on the screen, it's "Hello, we've been waiting for you" spelled out on the thing. Like, but if you were looking at only one person's dream, you wouldn't know that. But if you had the totality of everyone's dreams, you saw the message that was encoded in the totality of human dreaming. You get this message from something. And what if like that happens? Like, but instead of dreams, it's all of art. The whole history of art is up on that's the amusement park. And you start pulling trees, you start pulling benches, and you start or all the yellow blocks and the purple blocks line up. The signatures of the non-physical entities, the inspiration, the muses that took over each person during that process, throughout time, would reveal a message. And they might have known, if they're outside of time, that we would eventually develop a technology to get there. And this is all part of the plan from the get-go, that we would always, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just, like, we just got the decoder ring to figure out what the hidden message was in the Cracker Jack box or whatever.
Whatever that crap. That's before my time too, the Ovaltine and all the rest. Whatever the hell they used to put in the damn sugary things you bought. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's been planned all along. Yeah, it is. I agree.
Like you're seeing the fingerprints of the gods, the fingerprints of the muses throughout time. Maybe the same. Maybe I don't know. And yeah, for all we know, like that could be the thing. Like the what's the commonality in your taste? Like, oh, I like everything. I like a little bit of rock, a little bit of rap. But for all you know, it's because that rock artist was channeling the same muse as that rap artist was 30 years later, as that jazz artist was. And it's like, oh, you're actually a fan of a particular muse. You know, that's kind of trippy. Or just the messages from the other side could come out in the art in this way. That like this AI just caught one little glimpse in a Raphael thing. And if it starts doing the same thing, catching these little glimpses, and then put the puzzle pieces together, it could be like, "Hello, now you ready for phase 2? You know, level 2." Like,
it literally starts picking out the synchronicities, like literally peeling out synchronicities from the temporal space. Very Carl Jung style. Which again, how do you classify that as an individual? It's perplexing. It comes and goes, but I mean, if you can do that in sort of a zeitgeist level and a societal level, it gets weird. We're talking cosmic code. We're talking like simulation, like hypothesis. I mean, it gets super weird. Yeah.
You literally find the method in the madness, basically. That's it, pretty much. I just my notes here. Just the Ghostbusters 2 painting came to mind, and then just there's a demon in the Ghostbusters 2 painting, and then just that's basically it. I'll take off, but.
No, great call. Appreciate it. Hey, return those headphones, and if you don't, let me know. I'll pay for them. I'll send you a PayPal. I'm with you. No, I will. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, I'm gonna play this thing. This is Derek the Night Stalker. We got a thing that we were joking about doing sort of intro songs, but this is gonna be the outro song for tonight. We'll cue it up for the next time. But check this out. This is absolutely wild. This is a AI music that we set up as Derek the Night Stalker. And you know me, love him. Give him a follow. Link's going to be in the description down below. troubledminds.org/friends. Follow the Night Stalker. Here you go. Listen to this. It's a quick 30 seconds. We'll take a quick break. We got David on the road. We got Jorge. We'll get to you guys. Thanks for being patient. Listen to this. This is absolutely wild. Straight from AI music on Udio Beta. Check this out.
Night Stalker for life. Damn, there's no blood, still on others high. Happy rockers that come by, yeah. Stepping in the world. He owns the night, yeah. Fear grips the streets, tensions high, yeah. These days are trapped in the dark, it thrives, yeah. Derek's the Night Stalker for life. Damn, like a shadow that's been magnified. Damn, Derek's the Night Stalker for life. Damn, and he rules where the others hide. Fear grips the streets, tensions high, yeah. Fear grips the streets.
Oops, sorry.
Yo, Nessie.
Stop.
Bigfoot coming at you from the redwood tree.
That's Kitty Pablo mystical type shit from early 2000s.
Yeah, totally. So if you miss the lyrics there, yeah, it's damn Derek's the Night Stalker for life.
He owns the night.
He owns the night.
Stalker for life.
So good. So good.
You're the best. Watch yourself.
Exactly. Appreciate the call. Have a great night. It's Derek the Night Stalker. Give him a follow. Links in the description down below. And so that we were kind of joking about the the walk up songs or whatever. But I mean, that's good. I was shocked. He was shocked. We're like, damn, Derek's the Night Stalker for life. Anyway, so I got some stuff to play as we go to. I made a few of these other songs as just in case nobody called in, but we have calls. So let's do a quick break. We'll do a quick 1 minute and more Troubled Minds coming up. David on the road. We got Jorge. Thanks for being patient, guys. Great call from Derek. Thank you so much for that. And I just basically do it. Wait, I got a cold one here. So let's just keep on trucking. Let's do you know what? Forget it. Let's forget it. We're not doing it. We're going straight to the calls. We got calls. So thanks for being patient, guys. I hate keeping people waiting for convention. So let's go to David on the road. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? And go right ahead. Yeah, that great call, Derek. Thank you very much. Damn, Derek's a Night Stalker for life. What's up, David? How are you tonight? Good evening. Good evening. I don't hear you. Discord update, maybe. Test to test. Oh, still nothing. Still nothing. Yep. We've been through this rodeo before. He's going to just take off real quick and be back. And yeah. Okay, we're going to just keep on trucking. Thanks guys for being patient. We're talking about a master's madness, I'm calling this, right? And it gets weird because when you look at what this looks like at the metadata level from the past, okay? I think we're going to find some things that are going to shock us. I don't know about terrify, but shock us about sort of these maybe synchronicities at the societal level. I think that we're going to be able to sort of start picking these ideas out and sort of confirming things that we've been talking about. Again, just a hunch. I don't really have any data to suggest that other than my intuition, but I do think there's a ton of things we've missed in the past. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. David on the road. Go ahead, my man. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you?
Hey, you hear me?
Yes, I am loud and clear. Go right ahead, sir. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, you mentioned how artists can put their emotions and their feelings into an art, and the artwork that they do, and it just crossed my mind about things that for instance, I remember I drew my ex-wife when I was married to her. I drew her nude, and she kept the picture. But if I had kept it, maybe it's like, would you have just burned it to forget someone, or kind of like a weird ritual kind of thing? Like, would people like? I mean, I guess it would affect somebody. I think if you made it into a ritual and did something like that. But yeah, it does make you wonder. The psychometry, if that's the word I'm looking for that, where you put emotions into something that you do, like like artwork or a sculpture or stuff like that. I could see how that would affect people who come in contact with it or see it. So it'd almost be like throwing that sort of the data stream into a black hole, right? You're turning it into carbon in this case, and sort of the human case, and even deleting that human resonance for posterity. So I do wonder that's a hell of a point there. I'm making a note. We'll come back to that at some point and do a whole show on that idea, because I think it's fantastic. Because hey, what if and so back to Dorian Gray, by the way, I did a quick as we were doing this, a quick analysis on what I missed. And so Dorian Gray was enamored with himself, staring into the picture about how handsome he was. And so it sort of inflated his ego, started doing terrible things. As he did more terrible things, the picture got more horrific. He saw it every day and was like, what the hell's going on? And eventually he got sick of seeing himself as a monster and took a knife to the painting. So when he did that, the painting actually turned back to the original good-looking version of himself, but it ended up killing him. And so that sin eater aspect of the painting itself was he murdered it, but in the same case murdered himself, because he sort of released the sins back onto his physical body and ended up dead, looking like that horrific monstrous painting when they found his body. So there you go, just to wrap that up in the actual thing of what happened. I had to do a quick spin on that because I can't remember. It's been a long time since I perused that story. But anyway, I mean, that's the thing, right? So if you burn something, or let's say, is that psychometry, the human resonance, gone? I think from our detection aspect, I think for sure. Yeah, maybe that might affect the other person. Say you
you drew or painted someone, and that was someone that was personal to you and that kind of thing. Maybe that might affect that person as well. I don't know. But what you talked about just now with Dorian Gray, have you seen the movie The Secret? I think everybody's kind of seen that one, right? Where power attraction, that kind of thing. And they had a section in there where they had an artist who was drawing pictures of women, and all the women were looking away from him. And someone told him, well, why don't you, you're trying to get a relationship. He says, why don't you draw women that are, looking your way, or draw yourself or paint yourself with a woman in a happy circumstance. And that's when things started changing for him. And, the dating life and, all that personal relationships and stuff. And so it was like, almost like a psychological thing as well. But yeah, that kind of does remind me of like psychotherapy. Like, will they end up using AI to analyze people by say they tell you, hey, draw a picture for me, and then it'll spit out information about you, about what you're thinking that day, or they'll tell you, write down your feelings about how you're feeling, and then it'll analyze your handwriting and explain, well, this is what this person is thinking this day and how they're feeling, and what's going on in their head, that kind of stuff, and that to me I think is very possible, because I had a school teacher back in high school that was able to analyze handwriting, and she was able to like know what I was going through that day and feeling, and without ever really like deep stuff that no one would know about but me.
Just by the way you were writing? Seriously? And she was accurate?
Yeah, yes, very accurate. And she did this to another student, and he freaked out. He's like, "Are you psychic? Are you a witch?" He starts freaking out.
Burn her at the stake! Burn her at the stake!
Yeah, I mean, she just had 30 years experience of analyzing handwriting. That's what she was good at. And I was like, "Why are you a school teacher?" It's like, "You're really good at this." It was like she was a psychic, very much. It was really really wild that she could pull out stuff that was just stuff that I wasn't even thinking about, but I was going through, and deep stuff that I had no idea that she could pull out of handwriting. And it's like just really amazing.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. Okay, so meaning that there are human metadata pre-computer that we miss all the time, and becoming a master of a craft like that, you start to pick up on these things, and because you've studied it your entire life. Now, again, extrapolate that forward, and you may even be able to kind of pick up on that by typos at some point, right? Like if you're right. You're usually very precise, but for whatever reason you're agitated today, or a little inebriated, or whatever it is, or both, and something to that effect. And so maybe the AI is going to be able to do this type of stuff, certainly through handwriting.
Like,
go ahead.
Like a Freudian slip, like a typo. Yeah, like you meant to say this, but you said this, and so reflects on what you're really feeling. And I could see how that would be something as well. Yeah. So I mean, you put a lot of the human aspect into it, all the things that we know and understand and know that works into an AI, and it'll be able to calculate all those things and bring them together and come up with something that's something we might not have even thought of. It's pretty cool stuff, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Like, so human metadata left by the wayside forever, because now we're going back into history and we're going to be able to find this stuff out. Right. Which most of history is kind of based on letters that people were sending each other. There's a ton of these letters that survived, a ton that didn't, of course. But so a lot of that, we know what such and such did because there's a letter saying they were in this place at this time, type of thing, right? And why they were there. But beyond that, like, what about the metadata of those letters? Like, what was their actual like mind space when they were in such and such place at such and such time? You see that it starts to become this really, really just wide open space. Both words work for, redeciphering what history is. I mean, here we go, man. Strap in. This is all coming, which is absolutely absurd to me and absolutely wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm gonna probably lose some connection here, so I got to go. But thanks for having me on.
Do the best. I
Great
appreciate
show.
the call. Drive safe, and we'll talk to you soon. That's David on the road. You know him, you love him, good friend for a long time. Please give him a follow. Links in the description down below, troubledminds.org/friends. It says follow David here. He is a truck driver, and as I always say, our truck drivers don't get enough respect out there. They're out there grinding it at night somewhere far away from home to make sure that people around them get things that people they don't know get things they need. So thank you for that, David. Be safe out there. Appreciate the call. Yeah, we're talking to Masters Madness tonight, and the black box model meets Dorian Gray, right? A lot of wild ideas kind of come full circle. What does it mean? Look, I don't know, but I do know that there's a lot of wild things that we need to consider as this AI revolution comes. And what shout out Algorithm over there, he was saying on Rumble that I think we'd probably be better for it if a lot of this stuff shut down and we kind of had a like a back to human space. But I think people are so locked into this. It's too late. It's far too late. Hang tight, Jorge. I'm going to play this one thing. So I was as part of this UDO and how AI is wild. I love this. I haven't listened to this yet, so you guys are going to listen to this the first time. So I took this from the write up, and I'm playing this. If it sucks, I'm sorry, but it's only 30 seconds, and we'll go to Jorge. Check this out. This is from the write up tonight, specifically. Let's just hear it.
This is just the beginning. The potential for AI to decode the world around us is staggering, and it raises all sorts of questions, both exciting and disturbing. Will I reveal forgotten civilization concealed in the landscape, lost works of genius or evidence of forces beyond our current understanding? Some of the possibilities sound like wild speculation from the pages of a pulp fiction novel. Could AI one day detect ghosts of the past, lingering echoes of events etched into the physical world?
I think Clyde Lewis's montage makers are going to be out of a job very soon. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Talking to Masters Madness tonight. The black box model meets Dorian Gray. And of course, we're talking about metadata from the past and how this will change the future. Do you think it's weird? Do you think it's not? Let's go to Jorge. Thanks for being patient, my friend Jorge on Discord. Thanks for being patient, and you're on Troubled Minds. What's up, my man? How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
How you doing, Michael?
Doing good. Just having fun playing with the AI stuff and pressing forward with the ideas. What do you think about the concept tonight?
There's a lot of stuff that's going around. For example, I think that the painting thing, I think it might have been a commission. There's a lot of history of like I don't know, paintings were the psychological weapon for the Catholic Church, and so there was probably something behind Joseph, if that's the guy on the left, that probably the Catholic Church didn't really like, and they just wanted to paint over it. Or
right?
Maybe it was just
later.
Maybe it was just
like 100 years later or something, right? They were like, or whatever. They were like, no, come on, we need to change that, and then they changed it. Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, like they made other painters change their stuff or add stuff, take out stuff out. But fortunately, a lot of these painters were kind of weirdos, and they painted like stuff with little clues here and there. One of my favorite paintings were Simple de Velasquez, where he paints himself into the painting, kind of like saying, "It's like, well, here I am, and I am part of this world. I am outside of this world." Well, and they have a lot of meanings, like the rose, also at the bottom of the table. It can have some kind of like Gnostic Christian meaning, probably, or maybe it's even like Rosicrucian type of meaning as well, if the Rosicrucian somehow existed back all the way back then. So it's not necessarily that it has that Raphael commissioned it. I mean, it's just probably maybe the Catholic Church just wanted to put kind of like that figure there, or oh, poor Jesus, he's gonna die, kind of idea. So it's not like a
yeah.
I don't think this is a huge gigantic.
I'm with you. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for just a moment. So if you're going to do that and try and put Joseph here in context of the painting itself, wouldn't you do it in the same style with the same sort of foreground lighting, sort of the porcelain skin? Like, wouldn't you try and match if you were covering something up? You know what I mean? It almost seems like this was intentionally like
this is what we're going to do to your work. If you do something we don't like, we'll just destroy it by putting, something in there that doesn't make sense contextually. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And like, or maybe like the guy who painted it didn't want to like devalue like or pass himself as Raphael, and said, "It's like, you know what? I'm gonna make it a little bit different, so I don't pass myself as Raphael and have the wrath of like my peers tell me how much of a ripoff I am." I don't know,
Yeah,
but
that's the point. So the point is that there's a ton of things that could have happened with this, and so kind of narrow it down to one or the other seems absurd. Which is the whole point of this, that the historical metadata. Do you think eventually, based on the AI analysis that's sort of formulating and becoming a thing into the future, you think we'll know exactly what this was, at least to like within a 90th percentile, because of the time structures, not just the brush strokes and down to the micron level, this type of thing, or the megapixel level? I don't know. Like, is there something that will kind of lock in history a little sharper for us? You think we're about to find this? I kind of do personally, but if you disagree or whatever, what's your thought?
As far as paintings, or what do you mean?
Well, I just mean the metadata of history, meaning that, again, back to what David was saying, handwriting analysis. So once we train AI to do this and kind of stick it on the old letters, we could not only know where people were and what they were doing based on, ancient letters, or I say ancient, but, hundreds of years ago. We will know what their mind state was based on their handwriting style. I don't know. That's what I mean. Sort of the larger context of finding out more of the actual sort of Facebook style metadata we deal with it now, but in the past they never considered that people would be able to sort of derive their mind state from a letter they wrote. You know what I mean? Something to that effect.
Well, I think we're in the baby steps of AI. That is totally possible. I mean, the AI frontier is like way out there. So who knows what is AI going to be capable of doing in the next 100 or 10 or 15 years? Who knows even how fast it's going to develop? And I guess there are limitations within like the computing and the power of programming and the machines that process these type of AI programs. So as of right now, we're only dealing with like text information or like pixelation information. But I think that AI in the future is going to be way out there, where it's going to like simulate like patterns of thoughts, patterns of behavior, patterns of like everything. And so we are in like baby steps. The fact that we're finding this stuff up with our basic crappy computers, and once we reach a quantum leap where like quantum computers start to become a reality, that's where AI is really going to start picking up its pace in a tremendous stride.
And it's coming. It's coming. So, everybody's working on that exact thing. Yeah, it's coming, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was like, but I think that with the advent of the AI is going to evolve way faster. It's going to like shock everyone once we start figuring out what is it that the planets are really doing. You know, why are the orbits the way they are? Like, why is the sun blowing up the way it is? You know, once we start figuring things out and start finding patterns, thanks to AI, the world is going to change rapidly. Our perception of reality is going to change drastically, I think, because historically human beings have been very nailed down to their perception of the people around them, and it is a very dumb understanding. For example, like your last episode, for example, I do not believe, for example, that aliens are going to come see us. It's like, I don't believe that. I think they have always been here, you know, and it's like they have been here before us. In fact, they might have created us. And so once, for example, you start to develop ways for you to be able to tap into how, not only how we were developed or made, or how other things were developed and made, by understanding how do they work, how do they operate, what could be their possible function. That's when we're going to start to unravel the mind of the gods, or the mind of whoever created us, whoever programmed us, or even space itself, or gravity, or it's just once we're able to decode the computational analysis, it's like we'll be able to see inside the matrix. We'll be able to see the code of the matrix, of like what is this reality of, and not just to have our dumb interpretation of what do we think it is, of like a, kind of like things are born, reproduce, and die. Like, there's way more behind that. There's way more code behind that. What is its purpose? What is its, the way they see themselves. So I think once AI really taps into that, it's going to be like a free flow of information that may either be beneficial for us, or someone might try to gather it and try to use it for their own selfish benefit and screw everybody else.
Yeah, well, which is exactly the problem and the point of these discussions, is that there's a lot of things coming that we really don't think about enough, and I think we should, because it's going to change incredibly fast, and I think you're spot on with that. Regarding the artwork and stuff, and you said commission work, or maybe censorship, all this stuff definitely plays. You think it's possible they're sort of doing like hell icons or some sort of, I don't know, maybe symbols kind of hidden in these paintings that are, as Derek the Night Stalker says in the chat, maybe temporal Easter eggs that we're supposed to find hundreds of years later? Sort of the retro causal effect here of the ultimate troll in the Renaissance being like, well, I'm going to put this in here. I know nobody now will get it, but I do wonder if they'll get it in 500 years. You think that's a thing, or you think that's just a pipe dream?
Oh no, I can testify that it's real. That is real. I don't know the story of Raphael, but for example, Da Vinci put like millions of Easter eggs in all his stuff. But this one, you can even try to read what it is that Jesus has. And why is it a strip of paper? And what's written on the strip of paper? Why are there 3 roses at the bottom? I mean, and the colors of the garments. I mean, these people always left Easter eggs. In fact, there are a lot of alchemical symbolism in those paintings, and it's just out of rebellion. These people were extremely smart, and they probably felt that it was an insult to their intelligence to just paint Mary and Jesus and the Baptist, whoever it is. They wanted to express themselves. Da Vinci, for example, he's put a lot of like Gnostic Christian stuff all over his paintings. Raphael, I'm not very familiar with his work, but this seems like a very also revolutionary type of work, where he is putting things in there that seem innocuous, but they're not. They're clear messages to those who know. Those who really know. They will be able to decode it. The Knights Templar too is like they drew symbols in the walls, and it's like those who know, but those who don't,
Yeah, they're still using. I see people using that with the Q conspiracy stuff, and I say that in the nicest way. They're like, if you know, you know, and I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And so of course it can be. I think it can be seen from many other places, like temporal propaganda and this type of thing too. So as usual, right? We have to trust our own instincts. We have to trust our own intuition, as I always say, as part of that. And I think it is that counterpoint. I've said this several times on the show, but the counterpoint to what the AI metadata of the past looks like is, we need to use our intuition on what the truth of the truth is. And, it's mine's going to be a little different from yours, and et cetera, so on. And that's good. It's a good thing, because we need to be able to see things differently and still be cool and chill and talk to each other about wild ideas and everything else too. What else you got for us tonight? Lots of angles to take this. Go right ahead, sir.
All right, that's unless you have a question for me, I cannot think of anything else.
So what about? Yeah, okay. So what about the hell icon stuff? So do you think, for instance, like you said, it's possible there was some sort of censorship happening with this Raphael painting with again Joseph back there, St. Joseph being sort of covered up. maybe this was a Gnostic representation of something that they didn't like, so they covered it up and ruined the painting per se. Do you think that it goes beyond that, sort of a larger aspect of, say, maybe Carl Jung style synchronicities, where maybe they knew or had a feeling in the moment when they created these things, and even if it was blasphemous at the time, they tried to put it in there because they knew, for some reason or another, just their own past intuition, their current for them, but past for us, that maybe, just maybe, there was something they had to press forward to us, and through the censorship regime, try and tell us something that we needed to know. Meaning that, do you think there's a secret society among artists where they're trying to press information to the future to bypass censorship and being burned at the stake? Do you think this is an actual thing?
Well, I think that there was definitely a society where they shared certain messages. Like even Newton in his original manuscripts, he sometimes writes codes at the bottom of the pages, like numbers and letters. It's in one of his biographies, I forgot which one it was. It says, like, Brent asks him, it's like, well, when are you going to reveal these great secrets? Like, well, I will leave it to you. What do you mean? And then he sends him a manuscript that has like code, like I think it was like the Principia Mathematica. And then at the end of the page, he has like some like random letters. And then the guy's like, oh crap, I wish I knew what the heck he meant. Because these people, or some of them, were just so absolutely so brilliant that the only way that they could share information was by encoding it. And for example, like the Voynich manuscript, I don't know if you're familiar with it, is to me is written also in a certain type of alchemical code, where the guy doesn't want to reveal what it is, and so he encodes it in an absolutely weird way that up to this day nobody knew script. And you can see it in paintings. It's like, I've been to the Museum of El Prado, so I have seen that painting. I have been to the British. I've been to the Met, and so that's what I look for in these paintings. I go look for like these little alchemical little symbols, like a green lion, or a snake of a particular color. It's like, then I know it's like, oh, that's this type of compound, or this is what they're trying to say. And so I try to decrypt that alchemical symbolism that they encoded in their painting. And even though it has been over 500 years, you're still able to know what the heck they're talking about, which is awesome.
Yeah, well, exactly. So it is almost sort of like I've called it this quite a lot, sort of a cosmic shorthand. When you're using sort of these esoteric symbols, you put them into these places, even innocuously sometimes, into art from the masters of old. And as you said, I know when we see these things that these are the types of messages they were trying to sort of press forward. So, hey, and look, we're still dealing with it today. There's only so many things you can say on YouTube or whatever. So, like, it makes a ton of sense that in a time, now they'll like, demonetize you and take your YouTube channel down or whatever, and, delist you in the algorithmic rankings of the search engines or whatever. But in the old days, they would like come arrest you and burn you at the stake. So, I mean, there were dare I say, high stakes for blasphemy in the old days. Thank God we don't live in that world anymore. But I mean, hey, may blasphemy live on. And I say that in the nicest way. What else you got?
I totally agree with you. That's how, human consciousness gets to develop. It gets to develop through like the exploration of ideas and not censoring them. I mean, I think of the Catholic Church and censoring science and censoring so many things for so long. It just got in the way of so many things. And that is why it's like it was profitable for them, for everybody just to remain dumb, to maintain the status quo, for not people to question everything. Yeah, the earth is flat. Jesus is the king, and the Pope is the representative for Jesus. So just do whatever the heck we told you to do. Don't question everything. Just give us your money, and everything will be well. And there were people that were not cool with that. They were like, no, Jesus may not be God. That the earth is certainly not flat. The church is certainly not the center of the universe. there's this universal truths that go beyond your narrow perspective of what you think is real. And so the internet, for example, was amazing in the beginning, where there was very little regulation and very little control. And so information just flowed drastically. And even to this day, it's still awesome because we have access to books that, that people never had access to. It's like when, I used to remember when I was younger, I used to have to go to like those little wooden boxes and go through the Dewey Decimal System to find out a book.
Yeah, totally. That's such an archaic system now, the Dewey Decimal System. now you just type into AI. You're like, hey, where did this quote come from? It's like, well, we got 16 sources, and it's most likely this. You can check it out in this book, probably. Like, wow, okay, Dewey Decimal, get wrecked. Yeah. but those are the ideas that need to persist, because again, if the old ways have gone astray in the modern cycle of things, then we need to remember the current ways as the same aspect, knowing full well that there's going to be censorship cycles, there's going to be battles for information, there's going to be all this stuff. And I think it's again, this is why we do this. This is why I do this and keep coming back. There's many important concepts to consider here, that it's always moving parts, and considering what comes next is everybody's job, not just mine, yours, and everybody else's, as you know. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, and I appreciate your work, and I appreciate what you do, and like I honor the fact of how hard you work. It's like I tried to like have a YouTube channel on for a little bit, and just coming up with material and having to film it and having to edit it. It just takes a lot of time. So it's like the fact that you like have this type of forums like so continuously, like admirable. It's like, man, I don't know how this guy does it. How does he find the time to do all this stuff? So it's like, it's awesome, and also great, like the great quality that you have. Just so awesome that you have these types of forums, and that's why I like to contribute. I may not have a lot to contribute, but I would like to contribute, and I'm just getting more. I'm getting more into your material more and more every day.
I appreciate it. Thank you for not just contributing. Thanks for appreciating the work and being part of it. This is our thing now. So you multiple contributions. Keep thinking, keep dreaming, keep wondering what tomorrow brings. Peering over the horizon, looking around corners. That's our job, and trying to remind the past temporally that the future is coming, and there's nothing we can do about it except make good points about how we shouldn't forget where we came from. And that's why I'm here. You're the best, brother. I appreciate you very much.
No, thank you, Michael. You're doing an awesome job. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine. Thanks for the call. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, and you have a great night.
Thank you, brother. You too. Have a great night.
Thanks a lot. That's Jorge. And there you go. This is why we do this, to make friends, smart people out there dreaming of ideas, knowing things that I don't know, knowing things that you don't know. But notice when we get together, suddenly the ideas flow, because specifically, well, that's exactly the point. I can't know everything. You can't know everything, but suddenly the ideas come together, and it seems like greater than the sum of its parts, as I always say. Great call. Appreciate that very much, Jorge. If you got a YouTube channel, send it to me, and we'll, I don't know if you took it down or whatever, but let's share it. Let's share it again. Let's inspire you to get going again. And look, so thank you for the comments, the nice comments about this. It's just practice. It's years of practice, and hating editing things. So sometimes perfect is the enemy of progress, as I always say. Like, we could edit this down and make this so like perfectly tight, and do all the things, and cut out the ums and the ahs, and the you know how much work that is. Dear God, it's like so if you do like a 3-hour stream, the time to break that down is like days, like 2 days, like 2 full days to go through the entire thing. It's wild. So it's better to just go with the ums and the ahs and the imperfections, and just get these conversations out, because that's the entire point of this. That's the entire point. Great stuff from Jorge. I appreciate it very much. So here we're going to take a break here real quick, and we got Kelly in Colorado coming up, and your calls as well. You tell me. Look, no answers from me, just more questions here. But is it possible that, not just that, Derek the Nice Talker brought up another good thing as well in the chat there, that maybe it's not sort of maybe codes being put into places. Maybe when the inspiration strikes for whatever reason, it's from muses. It's from some cosmic place. It's from some otherworldly aspect of our, let's say, connection with the larger cosmos. And so you may not even know when the muses have you, but they know. And something comes out of you in a moment. And look, it may happen to me. I'm not being egotistical in that manner, but when you pump things out continually, there's moments where I think, damn, Mike, that was good. Where did that come from? Muses? I don't know. Practice? Maybe. There's a lot to consider here. And what the hell are we dealing with? And how much of this information currently and from the past needs to be remembered for the future? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More Masters Madness, the Black Box Model meets Dorian Gray, Kelly in Colorado, and your calls when we return. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That is KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're taking your calls as we discuss, well, all kinds of wild stuff. I'm calling it a Masters Madness. We're talking about Raphael and that painting where it seems like there was, a second artist maybe into this, maybe censoring some things as George there, Jorge smartly said. But here's the deal, right? We don't really know. There's no actual answers here. And so the question becomes, as part of this, it's a weird thing. Because what do we know regarding sort of metadata from the old ways? Because metadata, again, we've come to know that as, Google or Facebook, knowing where we're at, what we're doing, what we're thinking, by what we're posting, the amount of typos. I'm sure they do all that. We did a show in the past on all the things that they actually do and track. Your mouse cursor position, they track, even if you don't post something, like if you type something in there and you're about to hit post and you don't, and you delete it, it's still as part of your, that's metadata. That's all being put into your funnel of, we got you when we know who you are and we know what you're thinking, right? And that's, so that we're sort of used to in the modern realm. And it is, as, horrifying it is to consider that that's all real and legit and true. There's another concept of this, of ancient metadata, okay, which is what we're talking about tonight. And the black box model meets Dorian Gray is what I'm calling this, meaning that AI is able to sort of parse letters of old. And as David said very smartly, handwriting analysis from old letters, this type of stuff. Or let's say brushstroke analysis down to the micron level from, massive megapixel cameras being able to send information to AI systems to parse this stuff. We've talked about this in the past as well with the Anunnaki story and this type of thing with the Sumerian tablets and, that type of thing. There's only so many people in the world that can translate that stuff accurately. Pretty soon, we're going to have all those records, again, given a free and open society, which, right, I think you can make the argument that there's a lot of censorship happening because the Library of Alexandria and that whole bit seems to be a recurring theme in humanity, that if we have like an open source flow of information, then maybe we're going to discover cures for cancer or something. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Like, smashed into those old Sumerian tablets. I don't know. And that becomes really the question here. And how much do we trust the power brokers that, won't even let us, be not a tax slave? Okay, there you go. Ready to get me all fired up. 702-957-1037. What do you know about this, and how weird does it get when we're talking about the old ways being parsed by the new ways, and how much have we missed regarding the metadata of old? Let's go to Kelly in Colorado. Thanks for being patient, my man. You are on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Good evening, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Doing very well. Hope you are well as well. What are your thoughts here? Take it anywhere you like, as you know.
Oh, well, let's see here. Okay, so I like this show tonight, because I've been down this rabbit hole a couple of times, and I'm glad you brought it up so I can actually go back down this rabbit hole for a while.
Sweet.
Because it's a very interesting one.
I think so. Go ahead. What you got?
Okay, so I look back at this time, okay, and what was happening at the times of like some of this artwork and the masterpieces that came out. Most of it's like the Renaissance, you know. But you got to look at the times too. You know, it was being pushed with like, you know, the mass push of religions. You know, with the Catholic was pushing its real hard. You know, Christianity across the world. And if you were still stuck, you know, want the old Gnostic knowledge, you'd have to do it in some kind of way of, you know, in some secret ways. And, you know, that's how, like, you know, Da Vinci, yeah, a lot of did it, Da Vinci did a lot of stuff. Hold on for 1 second. We're getting an emergency message. Hold on real quick.
Yeah, no problem. I hear that. Hopefully it's like a flood alert or something and not the end of the world. You heard it here first. There's an emergency broadcast alert. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, let's not manifest that. But yeah, we're here with Kelly in Colorado talking not just how AI detects this mysterious detail hidden in famous Raphael masterpiece as we're describing, but also what this looks like going to the future, right? Because I don't know. I think there's a ton of metadata from the past that will inform a ton of things that we've forgotten, back to that Graham Hancock style. Imagine when we start to like maybe look at this stuff and even can sort of decipher, well, I don't know. Dare we suggest which individual A, B, C, or D wrote these type of cave writings? You know what I'm saying? Like this type of thing. Like I think maybe this is coming soon to an AI system near you. Welcome back. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm here.
Okay.
It was a missing child thing, so I was just
okay, that's not good.
Here locally.
Okay.
No, it's not. Hopefully someone helps her and finds her. So.
Amen. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so like I was saying, a lot of this stuff was Renaissance, so they had to hide everything. You know, a lot of different stuff. You know, there was, you know, secret societies. There was also like secret societies within secret societies back then, you know, or if you want to keep like your Gnostic knowledge, you know, somewhat, and let people know that you're still into stuff like that. So I believe that's what they were doing, you know, a lot of stuff like that. You know, I'm going to go with two different ways first. Well, this way I'm going to want to explain, but one of the main ones I like, or was very interesting, is Leonardo da Vinci, right? So we know a lot of his, you know, there's been tons of stories and documentaries on this man. But what caught my attention is just like people that go missing, you know, and then they pop back up. And then they pop back up with some very ancient knowledge, you know, and, you know, he just expressed it, a lot of it in his paintings and his drawings. And the stuff that he was doing at the time, you know, was actually out of this world, you know, because he went from like drawing paintings to like, you know, straight muscle, everything down to the like he's peeling back, like someone taught him some like science and doctorate stuff. You know, he was peeling back muscle tissue or skin and, you know, drawing like the muscle tissue from the underneath, like he's already seen it like on a screen or something. You know, he had his stuff that looks like futuristic military stuff. You know, he even did like a robotic lion for the king's daughter, I think it was. I mean, he was into like,
he did a ton of stuff.
Some major stuff.
Yeah.
So he was doing some crazy stuff that was way out of his league, you know, that shouldn't even been. So where is he getting the stuff? You know, like again, for me, I look at it as where these people were missing, you know, missing times, you know, even, and then they come popping up later on, you know, missing 2 years, because he was missing for 2 years at one point in his life.
Yeah, but by all accounts, by the letters and things like this, like he and the, I don't know, I'm not smart enough, or let's say I haven't read enough about it to know what some of those theories are. But Yeah, go ahead with whatever you got. There's a lot there, and he was, I guess, if you have to like. So we started with Raphael tonight, but of course, there's a lot of those Renaissance minds that are considered masters, and Leonardo da Vinci, of course, is considered probably the master Renaissance mind, and I don't think anybody would dispute that. He was into so many things, not just a mere artist. He was a scientist. He was a physician. He was so many things, and kind of like maybe even the original AI. Black box model, right? Kind of just taking in as much information as humanly possible to come to a more general consensus of truth for himself. Which, hey man, there's some profound things to be said from what that man did.
Yeah, it could be also like he's getting a straight download of information constantly, like in real time. You know what I mean? So. It's interesting too where he was going with a lot of his stuff, you know what I mean? So also too, if you look at a lot of his paintings, you know, he's got like a lot of paintings pointing up towards the sky, you know, where I think maybe he went, you know what I mean? Or you also have like where people started doing what they call that mirror paintings, right? You put a mirror up against the painting and then you slide it across and you get in different paintings. Some that look like, I don't know, let's say like an alien species or you know, different weird, like angel ones, but they're mostly like secret, like pointing up to the sky, kind of weird stuff, you know. Where as to like going into like Mozart, you know, you have other ones. Let's say like Michelangelo and his paintings. You had Mozart, Beethoven, Giacchino, Rossini. You know, that's for the Barber Seville. But like these Renaissance gentlemen, and you know, who knows, probably even females we don't even know, but a lot of these, you know, it's like they're being downloaded with information, you know. They put it hidden in their secrets in their music. So like when I was listening to we're going into where when I was first listening to like classical music, right, and listening to some of the stuff, and then finding out later on, you know, like I said, going down this rabbit hole, you know, like music, right? So music it can be all matched up with math and colors, right? So some mathematical equations, they have each mathematical equation or number has its own frequency or a music, or has even has its own color too. Now, if you was to take apart some of these, you know, these people that, you know, they're masterpieces of art and music. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's tons of hidden stuff in there, especially with music. And then you go into mathematics, because listening to some of the stuff like, you know, you know, it's repeated in some areas. Then you have an incline, a decline, and then back to the repetitiveness. So it's all like if it's almost like if you take it apart and put ones and zeros with them, I'm pretty sure you can find something hidden inside these codes. And maybe sometimes like some of these artists don't even know themselves at the time that they were doing it, but yet into the future, you know, like you were saying, that maybe later on we can detect, because even like some of like I think it's Michelangelo, his painting, but the Last Supper, right? You know, the three windows in the back, right, in the foreground. You notice that, but that there, all people compare that to with like the Egyptian and also down in South American, where they are in their building techniques, they have the same three windows. So it's like, you know, this like comes in threes, you know what I mean? Like even like, you know, in biblical, you know, you have the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, stuff like that.
The Trinity, yeah.
But that's what they're,
which is 369, which goes to Tesla.
Trinity.
There's a lot there. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So again, that's like, you know, the Trinity. Then you go the threes and the nines. You hear people will talk about that all the time, or even the number 7. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they talk about what's like that with the number like 7 magi and stuff like that. You have all kinds of different stuff that's going to be hidden. But that's what I believe. You know, that some of that stuff that's you know, that's all through that. But the reasons why, that's where I'm finding out. You know, like I said, I'm bringing up Michelangelo. His disappearance of 2 years, and then he comes back with like a whole download of like someone just downloaded major information into his head, and the only way he can express it is either paint it or draw it or build it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is the wildest part about all that is so where does that come from? Sort of that, and we've talked about it before, the divine inspiration. So we could have human inspiration on a daily basis, but for whatever reason, there's like these moments, these pinnacle moments in an individual. And in the individual, like Leo da Vinci, of course, again, the mind of the Renaissance, that guy seemed to be tuned into something, or something seemed to be tuned into him. It's super weird. And how, how do you trace that back? Can you? Is it possible? I don't know. But it's almost as if like we determine we're sort of the instrument. This is from the Night Stalker, by the way, inspired by the Night Stalker. He was talking about this in the chat. Is the divine is using us as the instrument. We're the quill, or we're the pen, or we're the individual speaking, the orator, or whatever it is, the ideas. And there are moments where something comes out of you or me or anybody else that almost seems otherworldly. Like you don't know where it came from. It was part of a larger like line of thought. I don't know, man. It's wild stuff. A quick shout out to somebody new over there, over on what's up, See No Lies, Tell No Lies over on Twitch. What's up, buddy? Thanks for listening. He says I love the show. So go ahead, Kelly. I mean that becomes part of the larger concept of this is where do those downloads come from, and even the meta of this in the chat. If you guys are reading the chat, is are we able to trace it back to a particular muse or something, to a particular even entity? Like it's weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people. That's what some people say that could be download from the Akashic records. But again, or we were talking too, like if just kind of, it's a type of metaphor too. But like if you're just like you're saying when you do an out of body experience, but there's like you're tied down. There's like a string tied to your body. Maybe if we could find that string, because you got to have something that goes out like a beam of light. It's because most everything's gonna go back into a light wave. So that's what you got to look for, from frequency to a light wave. Again, it goes back to colors. So if you go back, follow that light wave back, I don't know if you can. Is it like a swimming pool where you drop a pebble in and the wave it goes out until it hits something and it reverberates back? Is that is it a one-way signal, or can we trace that back? That's a good question to be asking as well. But like there's another way you can put it too. Like I was kind of, talking about in Discord where, like you put anything you do, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say everything, but some people will. Excuse me. But when you do anything that has true meaning in your life, you're putting something and you're going to be leaving some kind of resonance of yourself in whatever you're doing. What could be like artwork, or it could be like when people say, you put your love into your food, or your music, or anything that you do, anything that you love. It could be mechanics, it could be like playing pool, it could be anything, right? But who knows, like if that was, the instruments that you're using that was always touching in your hands, maybe that's leaving part of yourself into it. And maybe, the creations that you make, the paintings and stuff, I believe, yes, that you can leave some kind of divine spark of yourself, with inside of those. I mean, because, that's I'm pretty sure that is true with anything. If you put that against any kind of science, because I believe so, what I mean?
Yeah. In the end, it's inspiration, whether it's human inspiration or we have, some connection with the divine in any way. Or look, throw the divine out, some connection with the cosmos, or as you said, the Akashic record, some, time is a flat circle aspect. And by the way, you can have these conversations either way, sort of in the religious sort of worldview or in the secular worldview. It both works. And that's why I try and do this and kind of look at things both ways and use both terminologies clumsily, by the way, because I'm not perfect. But that's the point, is that where does this information come from? Look, I don't know. And to be the guy that's like, oh, I know. And there's a lot of guys out there that tell you they know, right? They'll tell you, but do they really know? I'm not so sure about that. And But inspiration is for sure. Kelly, look, you and I are doing it right now. Hopefully, cross your fingers, somebody's going to hear us 10 years from now, you and I right now in this very conversation, and they're going to be inspired to do something that they weren't inspired to do before they heard us speaking to each other. That's what this is about. It's leaving breadcrumbs of inspiration for whoever or whatever might come next. And welcome to it. I'm glad to have you. What else you got? Go ahead.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and hope someone, catching those breadcrumbs or putting it out. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like I'm trying to get across was like I do believe a lot of that stuff, because if you're putting yourself into it, I mean, I'm pretty sure you leave some kind of residence. I don't know if it has a lot of meaning, but you know what I mean. You're doing that with like I said, those Renaissance times, and you've seen a lot of those paintings and like a lot of history, because there's a lot of there's even sayings, there's quotes and everything. Like, once humanity can understand the true meaning of symbolism, we will know the secrets of the universe, and that's put out through generations and generations ago. Like that's an ancient thing, and that's a lot of that's old school knowledge right there. But that's what I mean. I'm glad again you brought this one up, so I can remember to dive down that rabbit hole again, because that one goes many directions, man. Yeah,
and wildly enough, before you go, there's a 1930s Germany connection. I don't want to say the thing, but they were sort of searching out sort of these holy relics or the artwork that we're discussing and stealing some of this stuff as they plundered through Europe there. For what reason? Maybe sort of collecting that metadata from the old ways to maybe interpret the muses themselves. I mean, there's some really bizarre, esoteric, horrific stuff that comes out of that space of, trying to find religious artifacts and this type of thing. But beyond that, it's not just the fortune that comes with priceless things, but also like that human inspiration. They're in possession of, let's say, theoretically, they win, and they're in possession of the entirety of the Renaissance mind or the human inspiration of whatever, right? Like whatever they can collect. It's weird, man. It's a weird thing that we're drawn to these. I mean, like we can see them on the internet, pictures of them. Like I said, it's probably very different. I've never been to the Louvre. I've never been to some of these fancy museums elsewhere. I don't have the money to travel like that. I just don't. I've never been blessed to be that guy. But I can imagine sort of, seeing pictures of the pyramids is very different than standing there in front of the pyramid. You know what I mean? And you can kind of extrapolate that however you want. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be some majesty, some actual like human resonance that kind of comes from these things, and it could be art pieces or whatever. Hey, and if you're like a climate psycho, you just throw pea soup on it and glue yourself to it. There's your inspiration, right? I mean, hey, there's my Michael Strange diversion for the night. But I mean, look, it's weird, right? It's weird that those two things we can appreciate it from afar, but I think when you're there in the space of the thing, I think it's completely different. I think that human resonance actually speaks to you in some way. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Okay. So you want to go down that one. All right. So I like that. So yeah. I mean, look what all the ancients did. You know what I mean? So we talked about this one a little bit. That was off, like all these chambers that they made that had all resonance. You know what I mean? You can find it in the Great Pyramid. You can find it over in what island? Island of Crete, I believe it is, right? Where they have that chamber where it resonates 111. So it's the God's frequency or the Lord frequency, whatever you want to call it, divine frequency or whatever. But that frequency, now these people, again, that type of stuff is the ancients already knew. You know what I mean? That could be going into like levitation, all that stuff. How to spread love and hate or despair, all that. And that's what the governments now have been doing, and they understand all that stuff now. But now with the Germans, okay, that's what the Germans did. That history I went down for a while too. That now Germany with the SS, that's what they were doing. They were sending out the SS troops around the world to these ancient sites because, again, you know, with their, like, they also, you know, in Germany, they also had, well, like, you know, that he had those, I can't remember the name of the, what they call them, the wait a minute, the Vril, I think there was. And that's who it was like a witch or whatever.
The Vril Society,
you know, some lady that could see.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Madame Blavatsky.
Yeah, so,
yep.
Yes, that's her, yes. So they were sending all this esoteric, all ancient, old, you know, secret society. They went everywhere on this planet and was searching everywhere. Because if you look at, like, a lot of the stuff when the areas they went to was like a lot of Sumerian and then Egypt. And then after that, they spread out everywhere else to where it could lead them to, you know, where all these books, especially within India. Now, in Egypt, I know they dug a lot of places out, and they even have film of some of these ancient, you know, tombs and stuff where they want to find, you know, anything that we, nowadays what we would claim as to be fake, or, you know, it's you know, almost like it's imaginary, right? So that's the whole thing about that. Like the one I was reading, like, about the Emerald's Toss, right? When he talks about his spaceships underneath the Sphinx. Like, those people, like, that's where they would go. They would send them down there, send people down there. They don't care how many people ended up dead, if there was booby traps or not. They wanted the final finish of what they were talking about. To them, it wasn't fake or wasn't real. It wasn't mysticism or none of that, right? It's to them, if they were talking about it, the ancients, they know what they were talking about. That's the whole, I believe that's where ancient astronaut theory actually really comes from, too, is because you got to believe into some of that stuff that is actually, you know, it's not some kind of fake stuff. It's not, when they talk about giants, it wasn't fake. And when they talk about, like, you know, mermaids, that wasn't fake, you know, fairies and all that other stuff. All these other things that people, you know, that we nowadays want, they want you to believe it's fairy tales, and they put it in shows and movies and make it look like it's for kids and stuff. That's what they want you to believe. These people back then, they were after something, and I believe that's where they found it. They might have found a Vimana from India or something like that, because that's where you get, like, the Hindenburg UFOs, those flying saucers that they have, and they would say they went down to Antarctic, and, you know, you heard the story of when he went down there, what's his name?
Admiral Byrd, Operation High Jump, yep.
Yeah, there you go. Admiral Byrd, right? So when he went down there, he said all these UFOs are popping up, stuff like that. These people were, I'm telling you, man, yeah, that's a whole, you can do a whole show on that one, because I went down that one too, man, and that one's pretty crazy, because again, these, like I said, these those SS were finding all this stuff. That's what they wanted to find out, if this was real. Like all those countries like that, like Russia and Germany and stuff like that, they were into all that. United States were just trying to catch up and figuring out why they were spending money towards that. It seems to us like like I said, United States believe that stuff is all fake and fairy tales. It's all stuff that was told to you when you're a kid, keep you in line or whatnot. But there's always truth with everything else when you talk about ancient history like that.
Yeah, at least metaphorically. I mean, like I'm not sure where I stand with the Admiral Byrd stuff, because they say that his diary was faked or something. Like, fine. Like, fine. You know me. I'm fine with that stuff and be like, okay, cool. You win. You got it. It's fake. Let's talk about as if it wasn't, and then kind of talk about, you know, what that maybe juice world looks like. It's fine by me. Like, that's okay. Because of course we have to consider the possibilities. And if we don't, what are we doing? We're back to ABC, NBC, and CBS News from 1968 or whatever. Like, no thanks. And I know you feel the same way. No, thank you. Let's consider what else might be out there that they'd never let us know in the past, because there's a ton of it. There's an absolute ton of it. Yeah, 100%. Amazing stuff as always, brother. You're the best. What else you got? Go ahead.
Just real quick on that too, just to finish up with, like, if they're telling you it's fake, it's real. If they're telling you to take a pill, don't take it. Anything they're telling you on TV opposite, you better do the opposite. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
That's what you wanted. That's how you're gonna survive. Because if you're following their footsteps, you'll be dead in a week, man. I'm telling you what.
Shout out Matt's in the chat. Just real quick on that. Shout out Matt's in the chat. He basically said a while ago, if there's a commercial for it, you probably shouldn't be eating it. There you go.
That is true, man. Oh my God, that's the best words ever said too. Yeah, but to finish up tonight, man, that was about it. Like I said, this is a good one, man, and I'm kind of glad you brought it up because I go back down that one. I got a couple other books, man, but so those are in storage, so I'm gonna have to wait before I get those out. But yeah, man, this is a good one because, like I said, it goes into many different directions. It could go in like I said, some of the paintings that they were doing and just the colors alone and the situation. I mean, because if you look at some of this stuff, I mean, that's why they say that it pulls listening to the music, it sparks a thing in you. That's a whole, and you know what's interesting to me, right? I don't know why. I mean, yes, there's a lot of people that like this new digital music and you can make music and stuff like that. But are you really making music? To me, you're making noise almost. You know what I mean? And some of it, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, okay, it can make you move in a certain direction. But have you ever listened to a symphony? You know what I mean? A symphony where the music is playing strictly or straight out of the instruments itself. You know what I mean? When bands back then, they had each band member playing his own instrument. Nowadays, it can be played on a keyboard, but it's not the same. It's not. They can change the frequency, how the music is coming, piped out of those things. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you can't do it while it's live, but it's better when it's live. You can hear the instruments sing that how it's playing. It's speaking to you. That's what a lot of people say when music. Now, when you're doing all that, when you can even do that with, I'm talking like your food, your mom's food, you can have the same type of food in a restaurant. It's not the best. It's not like what you used to have. And it could be some of the flavors, but it's also the love that the woman put into it, or the artist or the musician. So, yeah, I believe in all that stuff, man. It's good show tonight, man. You guys, everybody else, have a good night.
You're the best. Appreciate the call. Tell Michelle we said hi, and always a pleasure. Have a great night, my man.
All right, man. You too.
Thanks a lot. Kelly in Colorado. You know him and love him. Been a good friend for a long time. The official wingman of Troubled Minds since literally the beginning. Literally the beginning. It's hard to imagine some people been with us longer than Kelly. He wasn't the first call, but he was the first consistent caller, as you already know, if you've been here for any amount of time. And look, he's spot on in a lot of ways. And this is the thing too, right? Ideas are not the truth sometimes, okay? But conceptually, metaphorically, back to Joseph Campbell, Carl Jung, this type of stuff, it almost doesn't matter if the direct idea is the most important thing. And I'm not demeaning anything he's saying. I'm full stop, separate me moving forward on this idea personally tonight is that just because something may or may not be true, it doesn't mean that there's not a metaphorical aspect to it and something to kind of consider as, well, maybe I could see, right? It becomes that. And like I said, if you hate me for that, for sort of kind of going, okay, wait, stop, and then going beyond the stop, well, sorry. I mean, sorry, not sorry. Like you should, by the way, I had an exchange, by the way. If you're out there on Twitter, what's up, bro? There's some people that are so locked in to it's just different types of people, right? So I'm an idea guy, as you know, but there are some people that are not. They're things cannot be confirmed as true, and you cannot move on to the next aspect of the conversation unless you verify the binary truth or falsity of a thing, right? But you notice when you do that, I get it. I completely understand why you would do that. But also look how limiting it is in the mind space. So you're basically saying that the only things we can think about conceptually are the smallest versions of things we can confirm. It's fine, right? That's fine. I get it. Go be the best you that you can be with that. But I'm telling you, there's a whole wide cosmos out there, even a multiverse possibly, of possibilities that you would never consider because you can't confirm any of it. I understand. It's like the opposite of what I do. what we do. I get it. But also, by the way, like, loosen up a little bit sometimes. It's okay to consider things that may not be textbook perfect or whatever, right? Because let me tell you what, 100 years from now, the textbooks you're reading today ain't going to be like the textbooks of tomorrow, that's for sure. That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it. Whatevs. New whistleblower on Twitter. You guys saw that? I don't know. UFO whistleblower. I don't know. What's that? Headphones about to die. Thanks, Derek, for buying some headphones just to be part of this tonight. You're the best. Look, I don't know. I don't know. What's up, Jen? I see in the chat, the Arcane Observer. How are you? Give her a follow. Give everybody a follow. All the troubledminds.org/friends down there. Look, this is exactly the weird space we find ourselves in. And again, I've talked about this a lot. What this looks like, metadata from the past, being read and parsed by AI systems of the present, and what does the future look like as part of that? I don't know. What's up? Time doesn't exist. Clocks exist. What's up, Gab Fizzle? What's up? Who are you? Let's see. I'm trying to find you over on Discord. I don't see you there. Okay. What's up? All right. Yeah, I don't know. So the whistleblower is saying, okay, here you go. So here's the weird part. The whistleblower is saying that, yeah, that's a good question. Thank you for asking that. His name's Jason something or other. I'll get the Twitter links and stuff. So this is what I know. This is what I've gathered from the Twitter X stuff. Okay. So this whistleblower's name's Jason. His last name is out there, apparently. He's got his DD-214, his actual discharge from the military, right? And he says at the Tonopah test range, which is up here, by the way, if you go, Vegas is here. If you go northwest up the highway there, the Tonopah test range is about hour and a half, 2 hours from Vegas, somewhere in that space, because there's like this whole like kind of, government space that includes all the way eastward, Area 51, okay? But the Tonopah test range, he says that he saw like a blue alien, or right, something to this effect. Saw it with his own eyes. So, and he's supposedly a whistleblower, and I say that only because we've heard this before, and I don't want to, you know how I don't like to crap on people, and I don't like to call people liars. I don't like to do any of that. I don't. Okay, and so he's saying he saw a blue alien. He had I don't know, some access to some things and some other things. Anyway, I'll get those links and drop them in the description if you're interested in that type of stuff. Everybody in the UFO Twitter X community are talking about it. And here's the thing too, by the way. You guys remember 2.5 years back, something similar happened with Anjali. You remember all that? The mantid alien that was in the cave that was... Okay. So, and I'm not saying she's lying either. I'm saying that we hear this stuff from time to time. There's a new whistleblower from the government that suggests this or that is true. Okay? I'm saying I don't have the information to confirm or deny. All right? Except, you know me, look, I'm willing to consider the wildest things until somebody says specifically and directly, I did this and I saw this in my capacity as a whistleblower. Cool, bro. Let's see it, right? Kelly says, was it a blue alien or was it a blue bird type alien? Exactly where he's getting flack, by the way. Back to the Corey Good stuff. Back to the blue chickens, the blue avians, the blue this, the blue that's, right? The whole Kona blue. There's some weirdness to it. Again, like I said, I'm not calling anybody liars. I'm just saying I cannot confirm nor deny any of that stuff because I don't know. However, it seems like every several months we have a new whistleblower. So let's hope they're right. Right? Anybody want blue aliens? I do. Let's do this. Blue aliens for president. I'm in. And I'm not even kidding about that. I'd rather vote for them than whatever garbage we got on the ticket. So you get what I mean. So I'm not trying to be dismissive. I'm just trying to be cautious because it's easy to kind of jump through the hoops and grab the bait, hook, line, and sinker, and then never look back and be part of a propaganda campaign. Okay. So, and I'm not saying he is, I'm not saying Garush is or anybody else is. I'm saying just be careful what you believe and how quickly and deeply you believe it. And always leave the door open for a moment for, some actual consideration of it not being real.
There you go. Right. The opposite. Yeah. I'm blue. Abadi, abadu. All right. I'm going to play this too. This is another thing. I did this while we were rolling tonight, and this is how sweet the AI has become. This is an actual, what is it? Whatever. It's a quote from the write-up, dropped into Udio. Listen to this. It's pretty wild, and then we'll wrap this MFer. Let's go. Let's go.
This is just the beginning. The potential for AI to decode the world around us is staggering, and it raises all sorts of questions, both exciting and disturbing. Will AI reveal forgotten civilizations concealed in the landscape, lost works of genius, or evidence of forces beyond our current understanding? Some of the possibilities sound like wild speculation from the pages of a pulp fiction novel. Could AI one day detect ghosts of the past, lingering echoes of events etched into the physical world?
Okay, that wasn't the best. But anyway, I'm trying to get to do spoken word stuff. And apparently you can coax comedy, like actual comedy routines out of Udio, sorry. And so, you know, anyway, I hadn't heard it yet, so sorry, it was terrible. It was a bad mix. You couldn't even hear the Vox. What could you do? Whatever. Anyway, you tell me. No answers, more questions as part of this. What's up? Read a couple chats here. What's up? What's up? Watch lists means your social credit score is, yep, is shit. Yep, that's a fact. What's up? Whistleblowers who promote real-time put on Five Eyes watch list. Yeah, the Five Eyes, yeah, very familiar. What's up? Harsher Boy? Yep, agreed. Kelly says, my brother told me when he was doing astral projections, he met a bird race, but the bird alien he met was a yellow bird woman. She could see him in astro, and they had a long talk. Yeah. I don't know. So, and he also mentioned, apparently the new guy mentioned, which makes my tinfoil tingle. He mentioned that 20 and back of Corey Goode. The time travel bit of remember the GATE program, sort of in the periphery. Anyway, I'm not calling anybody liars. I'm saying that when we get new information like that, people definitively claiming things, I want to see it. Okay. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not calling anybody a liar or a thief or a mouth breather or anything. I'm just saying, let's see what happens. I'm going to reserve my judgment on this new information that just came out. I'll find those. If you guys are not on. By the way, and I have to say this because this is incredibly important. Where you get breaking news is not from the legacy sources. By the way, if you're not on Twitter X, what are you doing? Like this is where, if World War -1 breaks out, because I don't want to manifest this, you'll find the information on Twitter X before anywhere else. You type something, you hit go, it puts it up there. It's parsed by Grok and by their algorithm. Google doesn't do it that fast. Microsoft doesn't do it that fast. Nobody does. DuckDuckGo doesn't do it that fast. It has to be indexed and crawled by their little web crawlers and whatnot. If you want breaking news, actual real, and you could probably, and I'm stupid thinking of this now, you could probably build an entire career peeling breaking news out of Twitter X and then putting it on some other space, YouTube or something. You see? I'm just saying, like you won't find this crap fast enough anywhere else. So if you're not on Twitter X, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Go join it. It's free. You can follow people. You don't have to tweet. You don't have to get into fights with people. You don't have to be like, but come on now, my capitalism or my socialism. You don't have to do any of that crap. You just follow the accounts that are reporting things, and follow people that are interesting to you, and you see their stuff. It's simple, and things go up instantly. I'm telling you. Anyway, let's roll it. Let's GTFO. I don't know. No answers, more questions. And if you're not on Twitter X, I don't know what you're doing. Please do that. Only for your own sake, because, you know, like before that, we had the emergency alert from Kelly on the call there. Hopefully, if you can, if you have information on that, please share that. I'll retweet it. We'll tweet it and stuff and put it in the Discord so we can help if there's anybody in Colorado that can help with that stuff. With the Amber Alert or Silver Alert or whatever they call it in Colorado. But anyway, so you get what I'm saying. There's breaking news, and then there's yesterday's news, and waiting for like a web crawler to index it or CNN to send a person on scene is probably too late. Anyway, yep, there we go. Roll it. Did I have something to do? I feel like I had something to do. Fuck it. That's it. I'm out of here. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. You guys are the best. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for caring about these conversations. Oh, by the way, some housekeeping things. It's hard to admit this, but
doing the same thing for 6 years and never really changing. We're growing slowly, but it's outside of the human lifetime, right? Meaning, I've said this before, if I had 350 years in me, this would be just fine. The rate of growth. I don't, for obvious reasons, because it ain't a thing yet. And I don't know. So I've said this before, stay tuned for some format changes. I don't know what they look like, but I think that I spend too much time doing this, unfortunately, and not enough time marketing or pressing forward for what comes next. I'm going to start doing some other stuff. And I don't mean to peel back, and I just wish I never had to sleep, and then things would be fine. But you get what I mean. If you're not spreading the word for all the work you're doing, then all the work you're doing doesn't get spread as properly as it should, right? So I don't know. I'm not sure how to do this, whether it's every other day at this point or do it for a couple weeks and then take a couple weeks off. But anyway, so please be patient with me as I try and figure this stuff out, because we have way too much valuable stuff going on here to just keep going like we are and not blow up. Like this, I see these TikTokers blow up with like one idea with like 30 seconds of one of our shows and they get millions of views. I'm like, I mean, not directly, like they're not ripping us off, but it's the same freaking idea. But it's like, it's toes in the ocean of what Troubled Minds is, and they're blowing up or whatever. It's absurd. So I don't know. So anyway, if anybody knows whatever, how to blow this up, reach out. troubledmindsradio@gmail.com. Let me know if you know any I don't know, talent agents or TV producers or whatever it is. Like please put the feelers out there, because yeah, I feel like we're there and something needs to happen that can't be the same thing that's been happening for 6 years. So I think we need some format changes happening, and I don't know what it looks like yet. If you got ideas, I'm open to them. But yeah, so just to let you know, I'm not sure what's up, but it seems a shame to do this for another 10 years or something and have the same level of growth. It's why do it at all? So you know what I mean? Meaning that that's a long time. That's such a big chunk of a human lifetime. So anyway, bear with me as I figure this out. If you got ideas, please help spread the word, let all that stuff happen. And Mr. B style. I wish we could go viral like that. That'd be easy. Then we just rock it every night or something. Anyway, so that's the deal. If you want to help Troubled Minds, help our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. Go follow all these amazing people. If I left you off that list, and you should be on that list, look, if you just have a social media or something to share and you're always tweeting our stuff or spreading the word, let me know. We'll put you on that list. troubledminds.org/friends. Please do that. And let me know. Reach out to me and we'll put you on that list. If you don't, if you think you've been slighted, that's my bad. It's not your bad. Just let me know. We'll put you on the list. As we finish, so we may be sporadic coming up in the next several weeks here. I don't know. I have to figure something out. And yeah. So anyway, as we finish, it goes exactly. Embrace the cringe. Yes, indeed. Is that what we got to do? Embrace the cringe. That needs to be a t-shirt too. Embrace the cringe. All right. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure. Be strong. Be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours. Have a great night. Michael Strange out. You guys be well. Do the best you can be. Do the best you can do. Be the best person you can be. All the rest of that. And tomorrow, as it's the only thing that matters today. So you see what I mean. And spread that butterfly effect of positivity and ideas and all the rest. You be the best you can be. And it matters. Michael Strange out. You guys have a great night.